If we try to snatch this divine artifact, it's like trying to snatch a bun from a beggar despite having mountains of gold and silver. How laughable and neglecting the essentials. Let's just watch from here to prevent any accidents from happening. Anyway, we can't let Fa Wuxian escape this time. However, I don't know which lucky person will be able to obtain the magic treasure that Fa Wuxian has refined. Once he obtains it, his strength will probably be above ours. Jean Suebwa said. Let's see. Look, many universes have given birth to children of Heaven's Tao. Those children of Heaven's Tao are all experts in the heavenly Tao realm. Those universes have awakened and accelerated their operations. As we speak, some universes have experienced tens of millions of years, or even hundreds of millions of years. Lu Baiwe pointed at many universes. Everyone could see that time in many of the universes had started to accelerate and countless exciting stories were happening. Some main characters were born. These main characters were just like Gu Chunsha back in the mainland of infinity back then. They were able to turn any dangers into blessings. They grew, comprehended, and defeated powerful enemies one after another. In fact, there were even 2 universes that fused together, giving birth to 2 children of the Heaven's Tao. They fought and killed each other, and eventually, the stronger existence was chosen. A few hours passed. Zhang Ziren, the 4th, and the others joined forces and trapped Fa Wuxian. Fa Wuxian began to counterattack and killed a few progenitors. At the same time, the formation that the 4th, Zhang Ziren, and the others had set up started to shatter. Ha ha ha! Fa Wuxian laughed maniacally. All of you are going to die this time. Ha ha ha! Fa Wuxian laughed maniacally. This time all of you are going to die. I am not someone that a group of ants like you can deal with. Even if you unite all the universes, I can still suppress you. Speaking of which, I have to thank that B***starred Gu Chunsha. If he had not humiliated me like that, I would not have been able to comprehend the intense hatred in my heart. In order to thank him, I will not let him die. I will make him suffer unimaginable pain. Kill. Fa Wuxian turned into a ball of black gas and rolled around arrogantly. Countless universes could sense his evil intentions and the strongest resentment that wanted to devour the world. Bam! Suddenly, a few universes trembled. All the origins condensed and the power of the Heaven Tao shrank. They supported the protagonists that they had chosen. Those protagonists instantly rose to the Heaven Tao realm. Who would have thought that in the human realm of the universe, there would be such a demon that threatens the lives of countless universes? He has to be killed. In a universe called the Jambu Universe, the main character, the son of the Heaven Tao, appeared. He was a young man with a resolute face. He seemed to have experienced countless life and death situations and had a strong personality. Lu Baiwe looked at this Heaven Tao realm expert and saw through his fate. This son of the Heaven Tao of the Jambu Universe was originally a small fry in a sect. His name was Fang Xie. He had been humiliated and had a fortuitous encounter. After experiencing love and hate, he had trained for 10,000 years and finally reached the Heaven Tao realm in the universe. Now he had rushed out and understood his mission. He joined the 4th, Zhang Ziren, and the others to besiege Fa Wuxian. At the same time, dozens of universes were catalyzed at the same time and nurtured protagonists of the Heaven Tao realm. These protagonists had trained for tens of thousands of years in their own universes. Some had even trained for hundreds of millions of years before they broke free from the restraints of the universe and reached the Heaven Tao realm. They stood out and started to besiege Fa Wuxian. Finally, Heaven Tao realm experts appeared one after another under the agitation of many universes. Each universe could only produce one Heaven Tao realm expert. However, there were some special universes that produced 2 or 3 Heaven Tao realm experts. Fa Wuxian actually influenced the changes of countless universes in the human realm. This is also Chencha's plan, right? Wen Hong asked Lu Baiwe. That's right. Chernsha had already predicted Fa Wuxian's perverse actions. He purposely turned Fa Wuxian into a female dog and turned the great spirit god into a male dog. He kept humiliating them, causing Fa Wuxian's hatred to approach the supreme immortal realm. He destroyed many universes in the world. This was equivalent to accelerating the development of those universes, forcing out the infinite potential of the universes. Now that Fa Wuxian has gone crazy, isn't the potential of these universes being forced out one by one? Lu Baiyue saw it clearly. Those universes accelerated the development of their potential, giving birth to one Heaven Dao realm expert after another. Didn't this add a lot of variables to the world? A brand new era is coming. From now on, there will be as many Heaven Dao realm experts as there were in the Ancestor realm. Even those in the Supreme Immortal Realm will appear. This way, the world will become richer and the whole world will improve. Only then will Chernsha be able to obtain more resources to comprehend the 10th level of the Supreme Immortal Realm. So this is Chensha's thinking. Indeed, the stronger all living beings are, the more resources he will obtain. If all living beings have low cultivation, then Chernsha, who stands at the peak of all living beings, isn't actually that high. Zhuge Ye suddenly understood. Gu Chernsha had always stood above all living beings, or rather, he was opening the path for all living beings. However, all living beings had to follow closely behind him. For example, a pyramid. The higher the living beings were, the higher they could push Gu Chernsha at the top of the pyramid. This was mutually reinforcing. Therefore, the increasing number of Heaven Dao realm experts wasn't a bad thing for Gu Chernsha. In fact, it was a great thing. It would make it easier for Gu Chernsha to comprehend the 10th level of the Supreme Immortal Realm. Therefore, all of this was Gu Chensha's plan. At this moment, Gu Chernsha was up in the air looking at a sphere. Within the sphere, there were 4 streams of black qi swirling around. They were none other than Mr. Wuwu, Mr. Wuxin, Mr. Wuwei, and Mr. Wuxiang. These 4 were forming a formation to fight against Gu Chernsha. Mr. Nun spoke. Gu Chernsha, you are indeed powerful. But I'm afraid it's impossible for you to do anything to us. We'll have a long time to go on. Can't you feel that the billions of universes in the human world are revolving faster? Many Heaven Dao realm experts have been born. Gu Chernsha said to Mr. Wuwu and the others, "This is all part of my plan. Actually, I still have to thank you guys for nurturing Fa Wuxian, allowing him to go against the flow. Only then would he be able to resonate with the universe, allowing my plan to be realized." You, Mr. Invincible, understood what Gu Chernsha wanted to do. The more experts there are in the human world, the stronger you will be. You will be stepping on the heads of all living beings to advance. No matter if the human world is against you or for you, as long as they are experts, they will become your stepping stone, allowing you to reach higher height. Now that there are more Heaven Dao experts, many of them won't be your subordinates, and they might even try to kill you. But there's still your resources. You'll gain a deeper understanding of the Undying Realm, and you'll be closer to the 10th level of the Undying Realm than you can imagine. Chapter 1043. The Strongest Magic Treasure. Chapter 1039. The Strongest Magic Treasure. Gu Chernsha, you're wrong. Do you think you can always stand at the peak? Let me tell you, there will always be geniuses appearing in every generation. You might be standing at the peak now, but in the future, there will definitely be people who will surpass you. At that time, you won't be able to lead the trend and will fade into the crowd. What will you do then? Let me tell you, there is no eternal protagonist in this world. Back then, in the Heaven Realm, Gu Taxian appeared out of nowhere and did countless things. But what about now? He fused with the heavenly Daos and created us. In the future, you will be the same. Why don't we work together to suppress the world and stabilize it? That way, we will be able to enjoy the limitless state forever. Otherwise, if we continue to improve, there will be existences that surpass us. Mr. Wu Wu extended an olive branch. Haha, Mr. Wu Wu, you are underestimating me too much. Without competition, how can there be motivation? It's just that I have created one powerful existence after another. These powerful existences will become my motivation, allowing my cultivation base to rise higher and higher. Even if I were to enjoy limitless eternity for the sake of maintaining the status quo, what difference would there be between me and a walking corpse? Gu Chensha laughed. Since you insist on going about things the wrong way, I won't say anything more to you. Gu Chensha, just wait and see. If Fa Wuxian is killed by the combined forces of countless universes, he will truly become a magic treasure. With this magic treasure, the one who obtains it will most likely have the power of an undying. Because your new world has a different ideology, you won't be able to obtain this treasure. Therefore, the one who obtains this treasure will definitely be someone else. If someone else obtains it and they don't agree with your ideology, what will you do then? Mr. Wu 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 was still inciting. Moreover, my true body has yet to fully emerge. Once it does, I'm afraid there will be more undying existences. In the end, there might even be existences on the same level as you. This influence is definitely not something you can control. Mr. Wu Wu, don't talk nonsense. On one hand, Gu Chensha was paying attention to the four supreme immortal experts, and on the other hand, he was observing the changes in the human world. At this time, many of the children of the heavenly Tao had already begun fighting with Fa Wuxian. In a short while, at least a few thousand children of the heavenly Tao had been born. Some of the universes were still in their infancy and were unable to give birth to children of the heavenly Tao. However, this particular universe had fused with other universes and was eventually born. In the human world, there were billions of universes, and with every passing breath, a brand new universe would be born from the infusion of origin force from the new world, just like a child blowing bubbles. Fa Wuxian was completely immersed in the sea of people's war. Thousands of Heaven Tao realm experts gathered together, bringing with them the power of many universes. They set up a huge formation and gradually trapped Fa Wuxian within. Damn it, how could they still have such a trick up their sleeves? All the cosmoses are my enemies. Do you really think that they can do anything to me if they join forces? This is simply wishful thinking. All the cosmoses will be devoured by me, and I will become the supreme and invincible ruler under the heavens. Fa Wuxian was trapped in the formation, but not only did he not retreat, he became even more ferocious. He turned into a vast mass of black gas, traversing through many universes, and wherever he reached, he would turn that place into nothingness. I didn't expect Fa Wuxian to be so ferocious even after being surrounded. The fourth, Gu Huasha Zhang Ziren, the great spirit god, and Long Xiangtian had ugly expressions. Even with the addition of many children of the universe and Heaven Tao realm experts, they were still unable to completely suppress Fa Wuxian. Moreover, Fa Wuxian seemed to be full of vigor, without any exhaustion. If this continued and Fa Wuxian recovered or escaped, it would be like releasing a tiger back into the mountains, and there would be endless troubles in the future. At that time, Fa Wuxian would be able to defeat them one by one. No one would have a good time. We must kill Fa Wuxian. The fourth, Gu Huasha and Zhang Ziren glanced at each other and nodded. Everyone, this Fa Wuxian must be killed today, or we will all be devoured by the backlash. Kill. Many children of the heavenly Tao felt their hearts tremble when they saw how ferocious Fa Wuxian was. Even though their cultivation had reached the Heaven Tao realm, when they saw how ferocious Fa Wuxian was, they still broke out in cold sweat. They knew that if they didn't kill Fa Wuxian, they would die. Everyone, let's connect our hearts and summon more universes to awaken. At this time, many children of the heavenly Tao automatically comprehended some principles. All of them once again risked their lives and began to summon. As they suppressed Fa Wuxian, the power of their collective summon was transmitted out. Instantly, in the many universes, in the depths of the mountains and rivers, all the power was like a rolling snowball, growing bigger and bigger. The vast power condensed into a huge seal around Fa Wuxian. It's about time. Let's add some power as well. Lu Baiwei, Zhuge Ye, Wenhong, and the others who had been watching all this time said, "This Fa Wuxian should be killed as soon as possible. If we let him go on like this, once he escapes, it will be very difficult to deal with him. If he continues to wreak havoc in the universe, who knows how much effort it will take for us to suppress him. But the moment Fa Wuxian is sealed, he will turn into a magic treasure. We don't know whose hands it will fall into. If it falls into the hands of that person, we will think of a way to get that person to join our new world and become a part of it. Otherwise, there will be another person who will rebel against the new world." Lu Baiwei said. "That's the only thing we can do." Rumble. Lu Baiwei and the others also poured their power into the human world, activating their cultivation base. In an instant, boundless power was activated, and all the universes revolved even faster. The strongest power of the universe instantly formed a huge seal, directly suppressing Fa Wuxian to the point where he couldn't move. The new world has made their move. Immediately, Zhang Ziren and the others realized something. However, this was within their expectations. The new world is also very wary of Fa Wuxian. Right now, it must be Lu Baiwei and the others who have made their move. However, Gu Chunsha is definitely chasing after Mr. Wu Wu and the others, and can't be separated from them. On the other hand, Lu Baiwei can't control Fa Wuxian. Therefore, we can take advantage of Fa Wuxian's sudden counterattack to obtain the treasure he has refined. "That's right," the fourth said excitedly. "The more chaotic the situation becomes, the more beneficial it will be for us." Gu Huasha, the fourth, said excitedly. Meanwhile, the Great Spirit God had a strange expression on his face. "If I'm lucky, I'll be able to acquire the treasure Fa Wuxian has refined. Once I get it, I'll be able to reach the invincible deathless level. When that happens, I'll be able to hold my head high. My years of patience will finally pay off, and I'll have a huge advantage. Back when Gu Chunsha turned me into a male dog and Fa Wuxian into a female dog, he forced me to marry him. My body is secretly stained with Fa Wuxian's aura, and as soon as Fa Wuxian dies, I'll be able to draw on his aura and use it to reach the invincible deathless level. At that point, nobody will be able to kill me. Ah, Gu Chunsha. Gu Chunsha, your good days are coming to an end." Bam! Bam! At this time, a few other cosmoses spoke up, and powerful children of the heavens were born among them. Fa Wuxian felt immense pressure, and began to shrink toward the center. "You people want me dead, so I won't let you have an easy time. Tao of devouring, explode, exterminate." Fa Wuxian knew that he was in a precarious situation against the entire universe this time. Hence, in that instant, he activated the technique of mutual destruction, releasing all the power he had devoured in an instant. Countless explosions erupted from the center of his body. Many of the children of the Heaven Tao were instantly reduced to ash by the explosions. The strength of these children of the Heavenly Tao could not be said to be weak, but under Fa Wuxian's suicidal attack, it was basically impossible for them to survive. At this moment, thousands of universes also collapsed and fell apart. The destructive power, the power of the collapse of the universes, all merged into the explosion. After the explosion, everything turned into nothingness. Only Zhang Ziren, the fourth, and the others had predicted this. When Fa Wuxian went berserk, they suddenly left, not being in the center of the explosion, and survived. Everywhere was a scene of desolation. The center of the human world had a huge hole. In the center of the explosion, a magical treasure appeared. It looked like a gourd, but the mouth of the gourd was huge, and the inside of the gourd seemed to be filled with teeth, wriggling. Fa Wuxian had turned into a gourd with a huge mouth. Fa Wuxian has turned into a magical treasure. He's dead. This gourd is a supreme immortal treasure. Whoever gets it will be invincible. This is a supreme immortal treasure. It's like reaching the heavens in a single bound. Go and snatch it. Snatch it. Snatch it. This is truly indestructible. This gourd contains the quintessence of Fa Wuxian after he died, refined by the explosion, and left behind true indestructible power. Fa Wuxian is dead, but he really did refine a magical treasure. Countless onlookers were stirred by what they saw. No one could resist the temptation of the imperishable level gourd. It was the most powerful magical treasure in all of history. Since ancient times, there had never been a Heaven Dao level magical treasure. But now there was a magical treasure even stronger than the Heaven Dao level, the imperishable level gourd. Everyone was instantly filled with incomparable madness. Ah! Come to me, gourd! The great spirit god was still in hiding. With a thought, the gourd sensed his presence, and in the blink of an eye, appeared in his hand. From now on, I am the most powerful. Chapter 1044. Filled with opportunity, the great spirit god had actually obtained the gourd that Fa Wuxian had transformed into. It was an imperishable level gourd. What do we do? Gu Huasha IV was shocked. He knew that the great spirit god had gotten his hands on it, and that it wasn't a good thing. The great spirit god was a treacherous and cunning person who had betrayed everyone. Once he obtained imperishable level power, what would happen to him? Even if he didn't devour everyone, he would at least enslave them. It's not that simple. Zhang Ziren was just about to rush forward and snatch it, but then he stopped. Because the great spirit god, who had obtained the gourd, was laughing heartily as his power increased. But then he couldn't laugh anymore, because he realized that the gourd was actually devouring his will. No, no. You can't do this. Fa Wuxian, you're still alive. You're not dead. How is this possible? Amidst his miserable screams, the great spirit god was completely devoured by the gourd. Many of the progenitors and children of the Tao who had come forward to snatch it stopped in their tracks, and retreated in fear. Even this couldn't kill Fa Wuxian? Fa Wuxian's ferocious might had deeply shocked everyone. The will of the billions of universes, and all of the experts, could see how ferocious Fa Wuxian was. Just his name alone was enough to make the universe tremble. Fa Wuxian had reached a point where everyone wanted him dead, but he couldn't. Many of the progenitors and heavenly Tao experts could see that although Fa Wuxian had transformed into a gourd treasure in the explosion, he had in fact been purified of all impurities. Now, as long as he recovered, he would be a true imperishable level expert. Such experts were basically impossible to exterminate. No, Fa Wuxian is already dead. What's left is only his ability to devour. However, that doesn't mean he can come back to life. If the gourd escapes, it will take a long time to devour many people, and Fa Wuxian will be able to come back to life. The only way now is to capture the gourd, seal it, and slowly refine it to remove Fa Wuxian's imprint. Only then will I be able to obtain the gourd and obtain the power of immortality. At this point, Old Fourth had come to a conclusion. Suddenly, his spirit stirred, and he sent out a mighty will. Everyone, Fa Wuxian is now at his strongest, and also at his weakest. We have to kill him in one strike. Everyone, use your most powerful attacks to break this bottle gourd. Make Fa Wuxian's will completely disappear from the bottle gourd. Otherwise, if he recovers, we're all going to die. At that moment, everyone came to their senses. They immediately unleashed all of their attacks towards the gourd. Just how many experts were there in the human realm and the billions of universes? How strong would they be if they joined forces? They could see it now. Boundless light pierced through everything. Countless space-time was filled with power, and it was concentrated at one point. Lu Baiwei and the others were shocked. This level of attack, I'm afraid even our new world can't block it. If all living beings are united and truly join forces, it's truly terrifying. Is this the realm of all living beings being united? Who would have thought that after so many years and countless methods, we still couldn't reach it? But now, with the existence of Fa Wuxian, all living beings can reach it in a short period of time. From this, we can see how much of a failure Fa Wuxian is. He's too arrogant, and he doesn't give anyone a chance to live. Anyone with intelligence knows that if he gets the upper hand, they'll all die. That's why we have to kill him. To be able to do this, it's really amazing. Does he really think that he can rely on his own strength to devour the heavens, devour everything? Wen Hong looked at Fa Wuxian in disdain. That's right, Fa Wuxian is indeed not clear-headed. However, Chensha is also amazing. Through humiliation, he made him lose his rationality. His remaining thoughts were destroyed, and all that's left is hatred, devouring, and destruction. Now, he's walking on a dead end. Jin Suebua also saw some clues. At this time, who knows how many attacks fell into the gourd. At the start, Fa Wuxian's remnant will was still devouring, but as his strength was weakened, his will was continuously cleansed, and in the end, he let out a miserable scream. Gu Chensha, I curse you, I want you to die. All living beings in the world, I curse you to be destroyed. I am immortal, and I will return. When I return, you will be your doomsday. One day, I will resurrect and personally end everything. Fa Wuxian's final curse came out from the gourd. Then, the gourd suddenly lost control, and as it exploded, it fell into the cracks of the universe, and then disappeared. Fa Wuxian is dead. He was completely annihilated by our combined attacks. Now, his gourd has disappeared. Clearly, it has fallen into the depths of the universe. We have to find it. Whoever finds it first will immediately reach the invincible undying realm. Someone roared, chasing after the gourd's falling trajectory. Following this, all of the experts went to search. This sort of temptation was not something that any magic treasure could compare to. Swish, 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 like a swarm of bees, countless experts rushed to the location where the gourd had landed, but none of them could find it. Then, they spread out to search, and the gourd disappeared, and no one knew where it had gone. 3 days and 3 nights later, the chaos finally calmed down. In the chaos, countless living beings died, and countless spaces were destroyed. Thousands of universes exploded and disappeared. The calamity caused by Fa Wuxian would be remembered for generations to come, and people would feel their hair stand on end when they thought about it. Everything was so fragile. But in the end, Fa Wuxian died. This was also a great event that everyone rejoiced and danced in joy. After that, the great search also filled many people with hope, because they knew that as long as they found him, they would become one of the strongest experts in the world. Things have calmed down. However, I don't know where that gourd went. I used my own cultivation to make deductions and saw through many universes, but I couldn't see the shadow of that gourd at all. Logically speaking, such a powerful gourd should more or less have some fluctuations, but it just disappeared into thin air, said Wen Hong. With his current cultivation base, he could see through the layers of universes, and even the thoughts of the living beings in the universes, but he could not see the gourd. Right now, his cultivation base could be said to be invincible below the undying realm. Even the 4th Gu Huasha was not a match for him, because he had cultivated to the heavenly Tao realm under the rules of the New World, and was thousands of times stronger than the heavenly Tao of ordinary universes. But he could not find the location of the gourd. That gourd is indeed in the invincible deathless realm. In the final attack, countless living beings and countless universes were united against a common enemy, and were filled with the desire to kill Fa Wuxian. All of that power gathered together and eventually refined the gourd into the invincible deathless realm. Lu Baiwei said, "Even with my cultivation base, it is difficult to see the existence of the gourd. The gourd has an innate ability to hide, but those who are fated might be able to obtain it. I believe that Chernshaw definitely has a plan, and he will definitely be able to find the owner of the gourd and make him accept the ideals of our new world. As long as he purifies this person, he will be able to purify countless living beings, and in the battle against Mr. Undying and the others, he will be able to gain the upper hand. On the contrary, if Mr. Undying obtains this person, things will be troublesome. Let's not care about the gourd, and do what we can. We will bring the person who has cultivated the Dragonless Heart Sutra into the new world, and then start to spread the Dragonless Heart Sutra, and fight against Mr. Undying. Zhuge Yin knew what he had to do. Alright, it's over. In the void, Gu Chernshaw looked at Mr. Undying and the others, but he did not kill them immediately, because he knew that he could not kill them now. Look, this is the result of devouring all things, and in the end, all living beings were united against a common enemy, and Fa Wuxian was destroyed. When you were first born, you wanted to devour all living beings, right? But now that you have seen this, do you feel that it is inappropriate, and so you have changed your ways? What happened to Fa Wuxian was a lesson for Mr. Undying and the others. Fa Wuxian wantonly devoured the universe, and in the end, he was counterattacked and died. If Mr. Undying and the others had done the same, their fates would not have been much better. Gu Chernshaw, we will not speak to you now, but one day, you will definitely regret your current thoughts. With a flash, Mr. Undying and the others disappeared. Initially, Gu Chernshaw could have stopped them, but he had no intention of doing so. Looking at how Mr. Wu Wu and the others had left, Gu Chernshaw chuckled and disappeared as well. Next, he descended upon a gigantic cosmos. This cosmos was a hybrid cosmos. When Fa Wuxian exploded, many cosmos had collided and fused together. In the process of killing Fa Wuxian, it had a deep impact on the universe. Many universes collapsed and fused together, forming bigger and more complicated universes. The universe that Gu Dusha had landed in was made up of hundreds of universes fused together to form a single entity. Due to its huge size, it attracted other universes to start drawing closer and merging with it. It was like a rolling snowball that grew bigger and bigger. This was like many bubbles coming together to form a big bubble, and the big bubble would fuse with even more small bubbles to form an even bigger bubble. Because of this, there were many changes in this universe, and in these changes there were many opportunities. Others might not be able to divine where the Undying Realm gourd was, but Gu Chernshaw could. The gourd was hidden in this chaotic universe with many opportunities. This was the instinct of the gourd. The gourd wanted to be reborn, and it also had Fa Wuxian's imprint. Chapter 1045. Who owns the gourd? Chapter 1041. Who owns the gourd? Gu Chernshaw entered the chaotic universe to find the owner of the gourd. He did not want the gourd. Although the gourd formed by Fa Wuxian was the most powerful magic treasure in history, it was nothing in his eyes. The appearance of the gourd was actually caused by him. He stimulated Fa Wuxian's hatred, and then set up a trap for Fa Wuxian to escape. Finally, he began to devour the universe, causing the people in the universe to unite against him. This was also a test subject of his. As expected, when Fa Wuxian went against the flow and devoured everything in the world to his limits, it triggered the resistance of many things in the universe. At the moment when they were dealing with and killing Fa Wuxian, everyone worked together as one. In an instant, the universe's origin energy and humans' spirit force reached the strongest degree of resonance. As a result, a lot of data from this experiment was incorporated by Gu Chernshaw into his own cultivation system. The Dragonless Heart technique improved greatly again, and it provided a lot of resources for him to comprehend the 10th level of the path of immortality, the realm of non-immortality. Now, he wanted to find the owner of the gourd, and then observe him to obtain more data, and then obtain more information and emotions. Fa Wuxian had indeed died, but the brand was still there. In that final strike, the gourd had been purified, causing it to become a truly undying substance. This universe is really chaotic. After entering the huge chaotic universe, Gu Chernsha saw thousands of races, countless giants, giant beasts, even magic, immortal sects, giant dragons, devils, gods, humans, demons, immortals, extraterrestrial creatures, technological civilizations, half-human half-beast races, and so on. They all lived in the same space, fighting each other in this universe to obtain the greatest chance of survival. They constantly squeezed the living space of other races to maximize their own benefit. Gu Chernsha landed in a huge city. The city was full of tall castles made of stone, and they were obviously not man-made, but magic power. The city was very huge, stretching for tens of millions of kilometers. It was the capital of the most powerful empire on this continent, the Arcane Kingdom. This continent was called the Arcane Continent. Many universes were born under the influence of Gu Chensha's power, and all of them were dominated by the magic civilization. Back then, in order to escape from Fa Wuxian's pursuit, Wu Dangkong entered the Dragon Valley continent and fused with the ancestor of magic, which allowed him to escape successfully. But now, Fa Wuxian was dead, and Wu Dangkong had become a horse, a mount that pulled the chariot. There was no chance for him to make a comeback. The magic civilization and the immortal Dao civilization had completely different philosophies. The immortal Dao civilization used the spiritual qi of heaven and earth to purify one's cultivation, forming a world within one's body and creating everything. As for the magic civilization, they used their own mental power to arrange the various elements in the universe to form spells. These spells were unimaginable, and their variety far exceeded that of the immortal Dao civilization. However, the lifespan of some magicians in the magic civilization was far shorter than that of the immortal Dao civilization. Moreover, the immortal Daoist civilization emphasized solitude, while the magic civilization emphasized teamwork. For example, a lone magician would never have great success. But if many magicians gathered together to form a huge team, they would study magic with each other, gather all their power together to form a mana pool, and then extract magic from the mana pool. Their power would be much greater. This kind of civilization was like a technological civilization, emphasizing teamwork, but it was more like a combination of the immortal Dao civilization and the technological civilization. When Gu Chernsha stepped into the Arcane Continent, he felt that the laws in the continent were everywhere. There was a big arcane network that completely covered the continent, monitoring everything and providing power for the arcanists on the continent. In this continent, all the arcanists who contributed to the Arcane Empire could use the arcane network to enhance their own arcane power. The so-called arcane was a variant of magic, which was more refined and creative than magic. The area of the Arcane Continent was larger than that of the Land of Infinity. The ruler of the Arcane Continent was the Arcane Empire. The ruler of the Arcane Empire was a group of arcanists. There was no emperor in the empire, nor was there a strongest ruler. Instead, they formed a joint parliament, and every 5 years, an arcane council would be elected. There were 13 arcanists in the joint parliament, and they were called the King of Arcane. They ruled together and voted when they encountered something. There were also arcane counselors. This political institution was somewhat similar to the joint parliament of the 12 lords of prehistoric civilization, Lord Satan and the Lord God. Gu Chernsha observed the Arcane Continent, the Arcane Empire, and all the structures were in his eyes. The hierarchy of the Arcane Continent was very obvious. The arcanists had the highest status in the entire empire, followed by some nobles, then knights, civilians, and slaves. This hierarchy was somewhat interesting. In the previous Orthodox Empire of the Land of Infinity, the emperor was the first, and the imperial court was the master. Even the immortals had to surrender to the imperial court and work for the imperial court. But now the arcane continent was dominated by the arcanists. Even the lowest level of slaves, as long as they were born with arcane aptitude and could trigger the power of the arcane network, their status would immediately be promoted and they would become an existence higher than the nobles. In the arcane continent, the status of the arcanists was sacred. Countless civilians, slaves, knights, and nobles wanted to awaken their arcane aptitude and become arcanists. One step into the sky, even the status of an arcane apprentice was far above the nobles. In this continent, anyone could turn over a new leaf. It was a world full of opportunities. Gu Qinsha continued to observe and clicked his tongue in wonder. This civilization was quite interesting. The layers were like a pyramid, the hierarchical structure was strict, but there was no lack of opportunities for advancement. It was both dull and full of hope. Moreover, in this universe, the arcane continent was one of the most powerful empires. The group of arcanists had launched attacks on many continents and empires. They had captured countless races, and they had even captured people from the path of immortals to do experiments. Gu Qinsha saw that in the city of the Arcane Kingdom, there were many spaces and teams of arcanists. They were studying all kinds of arcane spells and doing all kinds of experiments. Some of them captured people of the path of immortals, dissected them, extracted their blood, and analyzed them. Some captured dragons and used arcane spells to turn the dragons into fighting machines. Some undead arcanists actually captured cultivators of the god realm and turned them into undead zombies and war puppets. The cultivation level of the arcanists was completely different from that of the immortal path civilization. They didn't have the physical realm, the Tao realm, and there were number 36 changes: celestial lord, heavenly longevity, heavenly essence, heavenly realm, and heavenly path. Their level was evaluated according to the professional title of the Arcane Union. Arcane apprentices must master 2 spells, flash and water purification. Flash was used for illumination, while water cleansing was used to turn dirty water into pure water in an instant. It was completely a life skill. The combat power of arcane apprentices wasn't even as good as that of the warriors who hadn't reached the Tao realm, but their flash and water purification arcane spells couldn't be achieved even by the experts of the 5 changes of the Tao realm. Only by cultivating the 6 changes of the Tao realm could one use innate earth qi to create light and purify water. It could be seen that the arcane system was completely different from that of the immortal path civilization. In addition to flash and water purification, level 1 arcanists also had to learn to shoot magic fireballs, which had the same distance as a bow and arrow. They could also ignite and cause a slight explosion. At that time, the arcanists had the ability to fight. The fireballs of level 2 arcanists had a longer range, and they could lock on and track the enemy with magic. It was impossible for the enemy to dodge. As for level 3 arcanists, they had more methods. Up to now, the arcanists' level had reached more than 10,000. There was no limit to the level of the arcanists. They were divided according to their abilities, and the levels were superimposed. Interesting, very interesting. I've already felt that the gourd that Fa Wuxian transformed into is in the Arcane Kingdom, and it's hidden very deeply. If I directly activate my methods and refine the Arcane Kingdom, I can find the whereabouts of the gourd. But now, if I don't damage the Arcane Kingdom, it will take some effort to find the gourd. Gu Qinsha smiled. With his current strength, although the Arcane Kingdom was strong, it would be completely annihilated with a sneeze. Even with the Arcane Kingdom as the center, billions of universes would disappear in an instant. Moreover, the civilization of the Arcane Kingdom wasn't bad in Gu Qinsha's eyes. It was like an exquisite work of art. Gu Qinsha couldn't bear to destroy it, he just admired it from a pure point of view. Unknowingly, his mentality had completely changed. I can set up a trap here and use the gourd that Fa Wuxian gave birth to lure Mr. Wu Wu and the others here. I can use this trap to seal Mr. Wu Wu and the others in the gourd. but I have to carry out a deeper level of planning. Interesting, interesting, very interesting. I'll do that. Whoosh. He transformed into a small aristocrat and lived in the capital of the arcane kingdom. The ancestor of the small aristocrat was once a servant of a great arcanist. He was granted many wealth manors, but because of the large family business and large population, the family property was divided and gradually fell into the hands of the small aristocrat. There wasn't much money left. In the capital, there was a house of about 100 square meters. Apart from that, there was nothing else. The small aristocrat himself was also very cowardly. When his house was targeted, he used arcane magic to quietly kill it. At the moment of being killed, Gu Chunxia resurrected the small aristocrat and sent him into the new world. He changed into the appearance of the small aristocrat. Chapter 1046. The Arcane Kingdom. Gu Chunxia became a small aristocrat in the Arcane Kingdom. He didn't do it out of bad taste. He wanted to taste the taste of turning from a big shot into an ant. He wanted to lay out a plan to wipe out Mr. Nothingness and the others in one fell swoop. Secondly, the Arcane Kingdom did have a huge destiny in this universe. With the rise of destiny, he was afraid that there would be a big shot. This part of the universe had undergone Fa Wuxian's Big Bang, causing hundreds of universes to fuse together to form a gigantic universe. If this gigantic universe eventually gave birth to a master, then that master's strength would be infinitely close to the undying realm. As long as he had the slightest chance in the future, he would be able to ascend to the undying realm. Gu Chunxia naturally had to carefully observe, understand and explore such a character. He was the best test subject. Of course, the Arcane Kingdom hadn't really unified the giant universe. In the giant universe, there were many forces that were not inferior to the Arcane Kingdom. Of course, in Gu Chunxia's view, the Arcane Kingdom had actually vaguely occupied a dominant position in the giant universe, because that system had the most potential for development. Everyone had the possibility to awaken the power of arcane magic. Even the most humble slave, as long as he awakened the power of arcane magic and became an arcane apprentice, he could immediately become a superior person. Moreover, the arcanists connected to the arcane network contributed their own mental strength, extracted arcane magic from the arcane network and integrated it into themselves. That would ensure that the Arcane Kingdom would become stronger and stronger. The power of the network was like a system, it was incredibly tyrannical. It was a virtuous cycle, it was somewhat similar to the dragonless cultivation method, where everyone contributed their own mental strength to create the world. But it was different from the dragonless cultivation method. The dragonless cultivation method was purely giving to the world. It didn't need the world to give anything to you. Now, the Arcane Kingdom was getting as much as it gave. That situation was also good. Of course, if the Arcanists didn't use the network of the Arcane Kingdom, it was possible, but the power of the arcane magic would be significantly weakened. The same flash spell, if it was exerted by one's own power, it could only illuminate a small area. But with the power of the arcane network, the power would be 10 times greater. The arcane network was a collective power. People relied on the collective power to exert their power to the extreme. If my calculations are correct, the gourd is hidden in the capital city, and the person who obtained it did not discover it. Gu Chunxia looked at the room around him. It was only about 100 square meters, and the room was in a mess. There was also a pungent smell, which was poisonous gas. This small noble had died from this poisonous gas. This little noble's name was Nader. He had whipped a slave a long time ago, but that slave had awakened his arcana technique recently and become an arcana master. As such, he secretly unleashed a poisonous arcana technique to kill Nader on the spot. Gu Chunxia swept a little, the cause and effect of the entire arcane kingdom. Everything was vivid in his eyes, nothing could be hidden from him. He snapped his fingers and the room was cleaned up. The room was very sloppy, but it was completely cleaned up by that arcane spell and became as clean as new. Even some old tables and rusted steel bars on the windows looked brand new. Arcane spells are really interesting. This is a cleaning spell, a renewal spell that can instantly clean an area, and even make old things look brand new. But it's not like turning back time. Interesting. Gu Qinsha had just used 2 arcane spells with just a snap of his fingers. There were no attacking methods, they were purely used in daily life. These 2 arcane spells, the cleaning spell, were instantly activated, cleaning up all the dust, dirt, even waste gas, even tiny insect eggs, harmful parasitic organisms, annoying mosquitoes, cockroaches, etc. This kind of spell, even an expert at the 20th transformation of the Tao realm who had cultivated magic power would find it difficult to do. But this kind of arcane spell could be mastered by a level 5 arcana master. And the combat power of a level 5 arcana master wasn't even as good as someone at the 5th transformation of the Tao realm. But in terms of changing the world and quality of life, they were far better than cultivators. However, cultivators themselves didn't care about the quality of life. They absorbed spiritual energy without eating, and every day in the deep mountains and forests, the sky was their blanket and the earth was their bed. They cared about absolute freedom, but the arcane spells of the arcane kingdom focused on collective power. Bang bang bang, at that moment, there was a knock on the door. Gu Qinsha flicked his fingers again, and the door opened automatically. This was the arcane hand, also a level 5 arcane spell. There was a girl standing at the door. She had black hair, blue eyes, and a tall figure. Looking at how she dressed, she seemed to be a noble. Nader, I heard that Mehali ordered people to cause trouble for you yesterday. Are you okay? The girl asked. Gu Qinsha immediately knew that this girl was called Luolan, and she was Nader's childhood friend. But Nader had always been dispirited and didn't want to make progress. This girl was very disappointed with Luolan, but she still cared about Nader. Luolan was also a noble, much better than the poor Nader. She was studying in the Arcane Academy, and although she didn't awaken her arcane talent, she did well in the Arcane Theory exam. In the Arcane Kingdom, there were many arcane academies. As long as one had money, one could enter them for further study. However, whether one could awaken their arcane talent depended on luck. Many nobles spent huge amounts of money on tuition fees, but in the end they achieved nothing. Of course, studying in the Arcane Academy and learning arcane knowledge had a higher chance of awakening than commoners. Generally speaking, only the particularly rich nobles would send their children to study in the Arcane Academy. Especially for girls, in the Arcane Continent, there were still some patriarchal ideas. It's okay. Gu Qinsha replied casually. The Mehali that Luolan mentioned was the former slave who suddenly awakened his arcane talent and became an arcanist. The status of arcanists is too high. We nobles have to bow our heads in front of them. If he wants to deal with you now, it's basically a piece of cake. My family still has some forces, and there are arcanists behind us to protect us. If it weren't for that, he would even want to deal with me. So that he can humiliate me and achieve his goal of humiliating you, Luolan said. He does want to kill me, but I've also awakened my arcane talent. At this time, Gu Qinsha smiled. Suddenly, a flame appeared on his finger, and within the flame, a human figure appeared. Oh my God, what is this? This is a fire arcane spell, a flame spirit. To reach this level of arcane spell, it's at least above level 30. How is it possible? Luolan was shocked. She studied at the Arcane Academy. Although she hadn't awakened her arcane talent, she was very familiar with arcane knowledge. Fire arcane spells were mainstream. To reach the higher levels of fire arcane spells, the most important sign was the birth of a flame spirit. A flame spirit was a life form with intelligence condensed from the fire element. This intelligent flame spirit was extremely powerful. It could be said that it had reached the 21st transformation of the Tao realm, the realm of the five elements. When one reached the realm of the five elements, their magic power could change into metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. Now that arcane spells had reached level 30, the birth of a flame spirit was about the same. Although it was a small flame spirit, it could burn a city, destroy a country, and dry a river. No army would be a match for it. I had a fortuitous encounter and directly awakened my arcane talent. Gu Qinsha smiled. His intuition told him that the undying realm gourd would probably fall into the hands of Mehali. This was because of Fa Wuxian's imprint. If he turned into a small noble like Nader, then his enemy Mehali would obtain the gourd and go against him. Of course, this was also one of his own plans. The reason why he turned into a small noble like Nader wasn't that he was bored, but he wanted to trigger the appearance of the gourd and then start to lay out his plan. As soon as he appeared in the arcane kingdom, he would use his identity and breath to slightly guide the fate. Chapter 1047. The gourd has appeared. Gu Qinsha didn't think much of helping the girl, Luolan, to upgrade her arcane level. It was one of his plans. You can reveal that you've upgraded your arcane level. Such a large-scale upgrade will definitely attract the attention of the higher-ups, but don't mention me. Just say that one day a little light from outside the universe suddenly flew into your body, and then achieved arcane talent and level. Such things are not uncommon. The higher-ups have no ability to say anything. But the arcane network is everywhere in the world. Our every move is actually monitored by the arcane network. As long as the higher-ups investigate, they will certainly be able to find out, Luolan said worriedly. It doesn't matter. That's how I got my power. Gu Qinsha waved his hand. The arcane network can't find anything. Gu Qinsha had long seen that the arcane network was a system. It was much more powerful than the system of God created by the prehistoric technological civilization. It was even more powerful than the system of cause and effect, the system of fate, and the system of good and evil that he created back then. Moreover, many laws of the universe and the power of heaven were integrated into the arcane network. The strength of the arcane network was actually in the realm of heaven. Even the masters of the realm of heaven couldn't break the arcane network. To some extent, as long as there were no masters of the 9th level of the immortal realm, the arcane kingdom could be in an invincible position. And the arcane network was constantly improving. There was a large amount of arcane knowledge integrated into it every moment. Gradually, there was a strong power of heaven that could be fed back and even benefit all living beings. It was no wonder that in this giant universe, the arcane kingdom could conquer everywhere and destroy many civilizations. Now the Arcanists had even signed an agreement with the dragons. The Arcanists could summon the dragons, and the dragons couldn't resist and had to help the Arcanists in battle. And even the arcane kingdom had captured many powerful races, such as the celestial giants, the ancient divine beasts, the demons, and even the divine race for arcane research. In this gigantic universe there was also the god race. However, they were not god-level experts. Instead, they were creatures that were born with great power. They were similar to humans, but a little different. From the moment they were born, they had the power to tear through space and traverse the universe. They were many times stronger than ordinary humans, which was why they were called the god race. But the divine clan still surrendered to the arcane kingdom. That showed how powerful the high-level arcanists of the arcane kingdom were. Whoosh! Just as the two of them were discussing, the space in the room suddenly collapsed slightly. A person walked out. This person was wearing an Arcana Technique robe that was densely covered with thousands of stars. These stars gathered together to form a river of stars. There were more than 3,000 stars on this robe, which meant that this person's Arcana level was more than 3,000. An Arcana Master with a rank of over 3,000 was a terrifying existence. They were all at the Heaven's origin realm. In the Arcane Kingdom, there were slaves and most of the civilians were ordinary people. The Heaven's Origin Realm Masters could almost kill them. However, because of the supervision of the Arcane Network, even the Arcanists couldn't go on a killing spree and cause the collapse of order. But the status of the Arcanists was very high. If they killed some civilians, slaves, or even nobles, it wasn't impossible. For example, Mehali used poison gas to kill Nader. This is the Arcane Kingdom's Senator, Master Henri. His Arcana level is 3562. Immediately, Roland recognized him. He was a real big shot in the Arcane Kingdom. In the huge Arcane Kingdom, such a big shot really stood at the peak. So it's two little guys. I felt a huge fluctuation in the Arcane Network. Henri looked at Gu Chench's incarnation of Neville and Roland. He couldn't help but laugh. Interesting, interesting. Not only have you awakened your arcane talent, but you've also reached level 30. With the merger of many universes, the expansion of our arcane kingdom will attract more and more adventures into the Empire. You two little guys are lucky. Come with me. Senator, where are we going? Roland asked cautiously. Of course it's the Arcane Guild. We'll record your information in it, but we'll have to go through an investigation to see what the origin of the power in your body is, and if there's an extraterrestrial demon lurking in it. If everything is correct, then congratulations, you'll step into the field of arcane magic and become one of the masters of the Arcane Kingdom. The Arcane Master Henri snapped his fingers, and suddenly two bubbles wrapped around Gu Chenshaw and Roland. The space cracked, and the next moment they came out of the space crack, they arrived in another space. It was a huge world, and there were arcanists walking around everywhere wearing arcane robes. Some of them had hundreds of stars, some had thousands of stars, and some even had tens of thousands of stars. In the Arcane Kingdom, the arcanists had reached tens of thousands of stars, which was almost the cultivation of the Heaven Realm, and they could even call themselves ancestors. If they were level 100,000 arcanists, they would be masters of the Heaven Path Realm. However, the Arcane Kingdom didn't have such a master yet, but the entire Arcane Network was already at the level of Heavenly Path. But Gu Chenshaw felt that the Arcane Network was getting stronger all the time. Some of the creators, the ones who contributed the most, were gradually approaching the realm of Heavenly Path. According to the general law, a universe could only give birth to one Heaven Path realm. But the operating mechanism of the Arcane Kingdom was very special. It had some flavor of the New World, but with the style of the Old World. When the two were combined, it formed a unique integrated style. In fact, the mental strength used by the Arcanists had the flavor of developing the potential of the soul. The profound meaning of the dragonless cultivation method was now all over the universe, and the birth of arcane magic was actually based on the secrets of the dragonless cultivation method. Now in the entire Arcane Kingdom, the reason why many people couldn't awaken the power of arcane magic was that they couldn't awaken their own soul power. The reason why Gu Chenshaw stayed in the Arcane Kingdom for so long and changed his identity was that he had seen that all the Arcanists in the Arcane Kingdom had practiced the dragonless cultivation method. These Arcanists, when they awakened their soul power, they could manipulate any element. But they gathered their soul power together and integrated it into the Arcane Network to strengthen the power of arcane magic. It was equivalent to everyone contributing to the world in the New World. The Arcane Kingdom was, in a sense, a new world. But the new world created by Gu Chenshaw was purely a contribution, and now the Arcane Kingdom was still plundering. Hendry, two more little guys have awakened? There are more and more people who have awakened recently. An Arcanist with 5,000 stars came over and looked at Roland and Gu Chench's incarnation of Nader casually. Yes, these two little guys are amazing. Not only have they awakened their arcane magic talent, but they've also directly reached the arcane magic above level 30. It's a miracle. I have to let the Arcane Network check. Don't let them be possessed by the otherworldly demons, Henry said quickly. It's necessary, but the awakened power of arcane magic is completely different from the power of the otherworldly demons. The origin of our arcane magic is the deepest meaning of the soul. It's different from any external force. Even a disguise can't be disguised, Henry said. Yes, that's right, but it's rumored that there's a new world. In the new world, everyone has awakened their soul power. After their awakening, their soul power is much stronger than our arcane power. Their supreme master is called Gu Chunsha. He's even more powerful than our arcane network of the Supreme Arcane Network. If the people from the New World come in, I'm afraid we'll be infiltrated, the Grand Arcanist with more than 5,000 stars said. That's true, but as the strength of our arcane kingdom grows stronger, we'll gradually surpass the New World and spread the glory of arcane magic throughout the multiverse. Only our arcane world is the most powerful civilization. The arcane civilization surpasses everything, Henry said with a fanatical expression on his face. Yes, the arcane civilization is the most advanced civilization in the multiverse, the best civilization. We must spread the glory of arcane magic, the Grand Arcanist with more than 5,000 stars also said. Hearing that, Luolan also showed a fanatical expression. Gu Chunsha felt a chill in his heart. Deep in the bones and hearts of all the people in the arcane kingdom, the idea that the glory of arcane magic was the most advanced and the most civilized had penetrated into their bones. That fanatical mentality was similar to Fa Wuxian's hatred. Well, you guys stand on that platform. When the light of the supreme meaning shines down, let's see if your power is the power of arcane magic. If it's not, you'll be beaten back to your original form, but there's no danger to your life. If it's the power of arcane magic, then your background is clean, then congratulations, you've become a member of the Arcanists. The Arcane Guild will give you arcane magic robes of the corresponding level. Henry pointed. In front of them, there was a huge altar. Above the altar, there were countless arcane lights flashing. He blessed the two with an arcane magic of flight. The two of them flew directly to the altar, and suddenly the supreme meaning shined down, countless data flowed, and there were no accidents. This young man's arcane level has reached more than 140? But this girl is only at level 30. Henry was surprised and said, and there's no problem, it's pure arcane power. The light of the supreme meaning flashed. Henry snapped his fingers twice, and suddenly two magic robes appeared on the two of them. One had 30 stars on it, and the other had 143 stars on it, which represented their level. In the future, every time he leveled up, he could use his mind power to connect to the arcane network and add 1 star on his magic robe. At that moment, suddenly a burst of black smoke drifted past, and in the black smoke, another Arcanist appeared. It was a handsome man with black hair, black eyes, and a face. When he saw Gu Chunsha and Luolan, his face immediately showed a look of extreme hatred, and then he saw the magic robes on the two of them, and suddenly he was very shocked. That man was Mehali. He was originally a slave of the Arcane Kingdom, and later awakened the arcane power and became an Arcanist. Chapter 1048. Slow layout. I felt the breath of Mr. Nothing. Gu Chunsha then scanned the area slightly and felt that in the Arcane Kingdom, the breath of Mr. Nothing and the others had also penetrated in. The arcane network itself was at the level of the heavenly path. It was too different from the undying realm. Naturally, he couldn't feel the breath of Mr. Nothing and the others, but Gu Chunsha could feel it. My plan is almost half successful, but the network power of the Arcane Kingdom is too small. It can't trap Mr. Nothing and the others, but I'll unknowingly strengthen the power of the Arcane Kingdom. In the end, the network power of the Arcane Kingdom will form a huge net and trap these people in it. Gu Chunsha's calculation was very sophisticated. Of course, in fact, he could now directly inject his power into the network of the Arcane Kingdom, but it was easy for Mr. Nothing and the others to find out. It was better to enhance the power of the whole human race in the arcane kingdom, and finally make the arcane network transform. In fact, the most important point was that Gu Qinsha didn't want to capture Mr. Nothing and the others to destroy the arcane kingdom and turn all the people into ashes. Because every arcanist in the arcane kingdom had awakened the power of the mind, to some extent it was equivalent to practicing the dragonless mind, but it was just a transformation of the dragonless mind into arcane magic. Originally, the dragonless mind was ever-changing. Whether they could seal Mr. Nothingness and the others in the arcane kingdom depended on the layout. Gu Qinsha was meticulous in everything, and this time was no exception. Mehali, it's not that easy for you to kill me. Now I've also become an arcanist, and I'm a level 100 arcanist. What can you do to me? Seeing Mehali looking at him fiercely, Gu Qinsha deliberately asked. Nader. Mehali's tone calmed down. I didn't expect you to have an adventure, but it doesn't matter in the future. I'll let you know what's terrible. I'll put you back into the mortal world, so that you'll be more desperate. Done. Hendry stepped forward to stop them. You've all become arcanists, and all the grievances in the future will be written off. If you want to compete, you'll see who has contributed more to the arcane kingdom. Next, our arcane kingdom will declare war on many races in the universe. Let them surrender to the majesty of our arcane kingdom, become our slaves, and create wealth for us. Yes. Gu Qinsha and Mehali both bowed. Right now, Mehali only had a few dozen stars on his body, which was far inferior to Gu Qinsha's nadir. However, Gu Qinsha knew that Mehali's cultivation base would skyrocket, because the gourd inside his body was restless. Alright, Nader, you've just become an arcanist. Although your level is very high, you still don't know how to use arcana spells. Go to the Arcana Guild's testing ground first and familiarize yourself with all kinds of arcana spells. After that, you'll have to join the Empire's Arcana Army. After you've gone on a campaign, the Empire will reward you according to your contributions, and you'll get your own personal territory. You'll also have a personal space to build a Void Arcana Tower for you to research arcana spells, Hendry said. Yes, sir, Gu Qinsha replied once more. Go then, Hendry said. Flight, Arcana Shield, Rainbow Arcana Technique. Gu Qinsha used the flight technique on himself. Whoosh! His body and Luolan transformed into a streak of rainbow light that disappeared from the mage hall. Not bad, not bad. He's actually mixing arcana spells together. He was able to unleash 3 arcana spells in a row in the blink of an eye. What a genius! Many of the grand arcanists present saw this and couldn't help but sigh in admiration. Mehali laughed coldly, then transformed into a puff of black smoke and disappeared. This was the demonic smoke escape of the arcana spells. Arcana spells were a system of their own, and they were far more versatile than immortal spells. So this is the testing ground. At that moment, Gu Qinsha brought Luolan to a huge barren planet. The planet was full of potholes and huge cracks in the ground. In the sky, there were terrifying wormholes that were filled with demonic energy. Yes, this is one of the testing grounds of our arcane kingdom. Rumor has it that this planet is connected to the demonic realm. Countless demons will hear the wormholes and come here. There are also some powerful giant beasts. Many arcanists kill demons and giant beasts here to hone their arcana spells, Luolan said. Then let's start honing our arcana spells. Gu Qinsha nodded. Roar. A zombie-like monster crawled out of the crack in the ground. It had a pair of ragged wings on its back and extremely long claws. Its roar was sharp and heart-wrenching. This is Yeksha. Luolan took the lead. She roared, shield. Suddenly, an eggshell-shaped cover appeared on her body. There were layers of light films. That was the Arcana Shield. It could protect her body against poisonous gas, flames, cold, physical damage, magic damage, and even all kinds of curses. As long as the Arcana level increased, the Arcana Shield would also increase. In the end, it would be invincible and immortal. The Arcana Shield was the most important means of all arcanists in the Arcane Kingdom. It was a necessity. After setting up the Arcana Shield, Luolan pointed and a flame appeared in her hand. The flame quickly spread and turned into a large net. It flew towards the Yiksha. As soon as the Yiksha came into contact with the fire net, it was immediately burned to the point that its entire body was sizzling and it kept struggling. Arcana of the Dead, deprive, subdue, skeleton. At that moment, Luolan pointed again. Immediately, a deathly aura flew out. The deathly aura wrapped around the Yiksha. Between the crackling sounds, the Yiksha began to shrink. It turned into a thumb-sized skeleton and flew into Luolan's hand. Nader, you also subdue some demons. Use the Arcana of the Dead to turn the demons into skeletons. When we have our own territory in the future, these skeletons can help us with our work. Cleaning, dredging the pipes, taking care of the Arcana Tower, planting herbs, and so on. We can't use Arcana in daily life. It's not fun to consume your own arcane power in daily life, Luolan said. Many of the Arcana knowledge she had learned came in handy. Many Arcana masters actually did not use Arcana in daily life for cleaning, lighting, and so on because it still consumed arcane power. They used puppets to take care of it. The simplest puppets were the skeletons of the dead. As for the more complex puppets, they had metal arcana and could directly create liquid metal robot. They had high intelligence and were ever-changing. I don't need them. Of course, if you want, I can capture some for you. If Gu Chensha wanted to use Arcana, it would be much more powerful than the Arcana network. He felt that it was time to improve something. How about this, Luolan? I will increase your Arcana level again. While talking, Luolan only felt that something in the depths of her heart seemed to be opened. Endless spiritual power poured out, and suddenly her Arcana level rose steadily. From level 30, it began to jump directly. Level 300, level 1000, level 3000, level 5000. It only stopped when she reached level 5000. Luolan almost fainted again. She was like a penniless beggar, and suddenly an emperor told her to give the empire to her. She became the master of an empire. Level 5000 Arcana level was a Sky Origin Realm powerhouse. O great existence, just who are you? At this time, Luolan did not believe that the little noble in front of her was Nader. She opened the wisdom in her heart and had already seen that the person in front of her was an existence that surpassed the Arcana Kingdom by many times. I'm the creator of the entire human world, the multiverse, the pioneer of the future, the founder of the new world. Gu Chensha said, this time I came to the Arcana Kingdom to save the Arcana Kingdom that is about to perish. You know this clearly in your heart. Your Arcana level is now level 5000, but you can choose to hide it. Because such a rapid advancement has exceeded the truth of the Arcana network, so it will certainly be suspected. Gu Chensha said, in the following period of time, you can go on expeditions and make contributions. You will gradually improve. The spiritual potential that I've unlocked for you is sufficient to allow you to reach rank 10,000 and above in the future. It might even be possible for you to reach 100,000. Great existence I've seen through the fog in the void. You're indeed here to save the Arcana Kingdom. I'll listen to your guidance. At this time, Luolan knelt down sincerely. Boom. At this time, suddenly the wormholes over the entire planet began to squirm one after another, and the demons inside poured out like ants. How can there be so many demons? Luolan was shocked. It's normal. Gu Chensha said, this is Mehali's doing. He has a magic weapon that surpasses the Arcana Kingdom. Although he can't use this magic weapon yet, his mind is gradually eroded by the magic weapon, and he can secretly activate many incredible powers. Now he's activating these powers to kill us. But it's a good opportunity for you to take the opportunity to hone your skills. After this hone, you can legitimately activate stronger powers. Okay. Luolan saw the overwhelming number of demons and began her performance. First, she used fire arcana. With a wave of her hands, suddenly countless flames flew out, and a large number of demons were burned to death. The flames were like a tornado. Wherever they went, the place was fragmented. That was a fire arcana spell that was more than level 100, Flame Tornado. Some demons weren't burned to death. She moved her hands again and formed an arcana formation. She bound those powerful demons that weren't burned to death and began to sacrifice them to the arcana network. That's right, it was a sacrifice. It was similar to when Gu Chunsha used the Heaven Sacrifice Talisman to kill some demons and sacrifice them to the Way of Heaven to gain power. After the sacrifice, Luolan gained more favor from the Arcana Network. Gu Chensha's heart moved, and he found that there were evil eyes peering at them. Chapter 1049. Chapter 1045. Who is the prey? Mr. Neverless and the others won't be able to detect my concealment. Gu Chensha laughed coldly to himself. His realm was higher than Mr. Neverless and the others. Even if that terrifying thing completely appeared, his realm would still be lower than Gu Chensha's, and he would never be able to comprehend the 10th level of immortality. However, they were quite annoying and tried to stop Gu Chensha from comprehending, but Gu Chensha had to be careful not to destroy everything in the world in order to kill them. As such, Gu Chensha could only set up a net. Mr. Neverless and the others had already entered the net, but what Gu Chensha needed to do was very simple: strengthen the net so that both sides wouldn't die. Arcane Technique, Lightning Explosion. At this moment, Gu Chensha cooperated with Luolan and cast an arcane technique that was over level 100, Lightning Explosion. With a slight movement, large amounts of ball-shaped lightning flew out, and wherever it passed, the demons there would explode. Arcane Technique, Soul Devour. At this moment, Luolan activated another arcana technique. This time, it was a necromancy arcana technique. As soon as it was activated, a giant skull appeared in the sky. The skull opened its mouth and spat out a green, phosphorescent fire. Wherever it touched, the fiends were turned into phosphorescent fire, then exploded and were absorbed by the skull. Gradually, the skull continuously absorbed the phosphorescence of the demons and turned green before finally turning into a magic staff. This was the power of the arcane technique, Soul Devour. It could absorb the souls of demons and turn them into a magic staff, increasing the power of necromancy arcane technique. Luolan hadn't been an arcana master for long, so she didn't have much equipment. Arcana masters needed many pieces of equipment to increase their power, and the most important was a magic staff. An arcana master's magic staff was even more important than a person's arm. Luolan happened to be using the arcane technique Soul Devour to condense her own magic staff. Arcane Technique Shape. Arcane Technique Change. Arcane Technique Ethereal Technique. Arcane Technique Spirit Gathering. Arcane Technique Sturdy. Luolan's actual level was in the thousands, but she was still in disguise. However, she had cast hundreds of arcane spells in a row, all of which were alchemy spells. As soon as this arcana skill was cast, the magic staff became even more ferocious. It turned into a ray of light that flashed hundreds of thousands of times in a second, piercing through countless demons. Every time it absorbed a demon, the magic staff's power would increase. Arcana Digestion. Arcana Technique Evolve. Arcana Technique Inscribe. Arcana Technique Store. Arcana Technique Spatial. Arcane Technique Destruction. Another few hundred arcana spells were cast. These arcana spells were all alchemy arcana spells, and they were all used to condense the staff. After an entire day and night, all the demons here were eliminated and absorbed by the staff. The staff fell into Roland's hand and turned into a crystal-clear treasure that was as thick as a thumb. It seemed to be made of jade, but there were layers of mist, light, and countless runes flowing on it. The staff was only half a foot long, and it was extremely delicate in his hand. However, it could store many arcana skills. "I've killed all the demons here. What do we do now?" Roland asked Gu Chensha. "Go back and rest, then fight outside." Gu Chensha said, "I'll support you. I'll let you make great contributions to the arcane kingdom in a short period of time, and then gradually become the supreme counselor. I'll train a lot of people like you to improve the overall strength of the arcane kingdom." "Great existence, whatever you say," Luolan quickly replied. "Go back." Gu Chensha waved his hand and suddenly turned into a rainbow and left. He and Roland were separated. Next, Roland was going to fight outside, increase her status, rise quickly, and cooperate with his plan. And Gu Chensha was going to choose another person. He wanted to select thousands of people like Roland in the Arcane Kingdom, then start to make arrangements at the top, and finally suppress Mr. Wu Wu and Fa Wuxian's gourds. Fate. Back in the capital of the Arcane Kingdom, Gu Chensha wore an arcane robe with more than 100 stars and walked on the streets of the Arcane Kingdom. He attracted a lot of people's attention. There were nobles and civilians who saluted him. The status of the Arcanists was extremely high. Even if the nobles met the Arcanists, they had to salute. The nobles just bowed, the civilians had to squat, and the slaves had to kneel. Some knights galloped on the streets on horses, but when they saw Gu Chensha, they immediately dismounted, bowed and respectfully let him go first. There were quite a few arcana masters walking on the street. Of course, there were even more arcana masters flying in the sky. Some of them rode large birds, while others transformed into black smoke. Some flew in stealth mode, while others transformed into bolts of lightning and disappeared in the blink of an eye. The Arcanists walking on the streets of the capital were of relatively low levels. Arcanists like Gu Chensha were now more than level 100, and there were very few of them walking on the street. Gu Chensha mainly wanted to take a good look at the customs of the entire capital of the Arcane Kingdom. While he was appreciating the customs, he could calculate the fate of the billions of people of the Arcane Kingdom and choose his own chess pieces from them. In his observation, the arcane land shrank violently, all the creatures appeared in his eyes, the fate of countless people, the future, and the destiny were all under his control. Suddenly, in his deduction, there were a lot of fate rising into the sky in the future. Not bad, with the development of time, these people will stand out in the future and become the big figures of the Arcane Kingdom. But Mr. Wu Wu seems to be creating some characters, and he has the same idea as me. During the deduction, Gu Chensha saw a lot of people with extremely strong fate, and they had a lot to do with Mr. Wu Wu. It seemed that Mr. Wu Wu and the others also knew that the fate of the Arcane Kingdom would be very strong in the future, and it was likely to become a giant dominator. Perhaps, he wanted to set up a trap to kill and seal Mr. Wu Wu, and Mr. Wu Wu also wanted to use the Arcane Kingdom to kill him. Both sides were laying out a big net. Mr. Wu Wu wasn't stupid. Gu Chensha wasn't stupid either. They were all powerhouses of the supreme immortal level, and they could calculate everything. Gu Chensha could discover the value of the Arcane Kingdom, and so could Mr. Wu Wu. The most valuable thing about the Arcane Kingdom was that all the Arcanists were people who had awakened their souls, but the Arcane Kingdom had the characteristics of the Old World, and its essence was the New World. That was the combination of the Old World and the New World. It could be tolerated by the Old World, and it could also be accepted by the New World. Such a combination had a great future, especially in the impact of the old and the new. It could stand at the head of the tide and not fall, and it could be the tide of the times. There's another good young man. Gu Chensha moved his body and chose a person. This person was also a student of the Arcane Academy, but he was a commoner. The tuition fee of the Arcane Academy was very expensive, not to mention ordinary commoners, even the nobles couldn't afford it. But this commoner student was very resourceful. He could actually make money to pay for the high tuition fee. The way he made money was by writing novels. In his novels, there were countless commoners who had adventures, became powerful arcanists, fought against the outside world, and finally became the supreme master. The plot of the novel was bizarre and fascinating. After it was published, it caused countless responses. All the commoners and nobles kept buying it. In the end, it made the young man rich enough to be qualified to study in the Arcane Academy. However, the young man was also very unlucky. He spent a lot of money, but he still couldn't awaken the power of the arcane and become an arcanist, which made him very distressed. Not bad, not bad. If this young man is trained well, he can set off a storm in the arcane world. While talking, Gu Chensha had come to a large room. This room was more than 1,000 square meters, and it was decorated magnificently. Some parts were even covered in gold, but there were books everywhere, and the floor was covered in expensive carpets. A man was writing furiously in front of a huge sandalwood table. It's a pity. If only I knew arcana spells. If I knew arcana spells, I would be able to write a novel in a few breaths, based on the ideas in my head. I wouldn't have to work so hard to write it by hand here. Really? Gu Chensha appeared in front of the young man. Who are you? The young man stood up abruptly, then saw the arcane robe that Gu Chensha was wearing, and hurriedly lowered his head respectfully. So it's an arcanist. What can I do for you? Do you want to awaken the power of the arcane? Gu Chensha asked. Of course, I want to, even in my dreams. The young man was overjoyed at first, but then became gloomy. He knew that even the most profound of mysteries, the essence of the arcane network, couldn't turn a person into an arcanist. In order to awaken the power of the arcane, one had to rely on oneself. Respected arcanist, I know the common sense of the arcane, the young man said. Please don't lie to me. I, Wang Ji, am willing to worship an arcanist, sir. You think I'm here to lie to you and extort money from you? Gu Chensha laughed. But it's understandable that you think that way. After all, no one can help someone awaken the power of the arcane, but I can. As he spoke, Gu Chensha's figure moved slightly, and a profound stream of will entered Wang Ji's mind. Crack! Wang Ji felt as if the door to his heart had opened, and a large amount of energy surged out. So, I've awakened the power of the arcane. Who are you? You're not an arcanist. You're a mighty existence. Wang Ji was so shocked that he couldn't speak. Chapter 1050. Open Struggle and Veiled Struggle. Chen Qi's novelist was a man who would become a great man in the future. Gu Chensha secretly added fuel to the fire so that the influence of his novel would increase by tens of thousands of times. It would certainly influence the thinking of many people. And Chen Qi was indeed a genius. Countless fantastic ideas were conceived in his mind and turned into exquisite novels. Many of the plots were amazing, they could attract the attention of many people, and they could even resonate with people's souls. Now the Arcane Kingdom was very comfortable because the Arcanists were fighting against the outside world and expanding the territory. Their strong military strength made the empire free from war, and the suppression of the Arcanists also made the country free from civil strife. So the people's hearts were stable. But if they were slaves, their lives were very hard, and the lives of the civilians were also very busy. Even the nobles had to carry out various businesses to worship some arcanist. Originally, the arcanists could make everything, such as the cleaning of a city. The great arcanists could directly use the cleansing spell to make it as clean as new in an instant. But now the cleaning of every city was done by the civilians. As for the dangerous dung digging, the cleaning and dredging of the sewers, it was done by the slaves. Because that was the system of the Arcane Kingdom, the purpose was to make the civilians motivated and not lazy. If everything was done by the arcanists, then the arcanists would be the servants of the ordinary people. Such a social structure, in today's world, was just right. As for Gu Chencha's new world, it was too advanced. It was no wonder that in the Arcane Kingdom, many people shouted to spread the glory of the arcane throughout the multiverse. Just as Gu Chencha was planning, in the capital of the Arcane Kingdom, in a noble manner, Mr. None also appeared. Opposite of Mr. Everlasting sat a great aristocrat. This aristocrat's manor was very large, and there were fountains and gardens everywhere. Countless beautiful women walked around, taking care of the gardens, delivering fruits, and collecting flower petals. Within the aristocrat's manor, the 4 seasons were like spring, and the temperature and humidity were very suitable. Taking a closer look, the entire aristocrat's manor was enveloped by an invisible curtain that stabilized the temperature and air. That was caused by an arcane treasure. Mr. Nunn, can you really help our Teddy family become arcanists? The great noble sitting in front of Mr. Endless was called Teddy Shakun. He was one of the great nobles of the empire. His family was massive and had countless mines, merchant associations, land, and slaves. There were hundreds of millions of slaves in his family, distributed in all parts of the Arcane Kingdom. The wealth of this family was incalculable. Unfortunately, the head of this great noble family, Teddy Shakun, was not an arcanist. Of course, a noble with such a status would naturally be able to rope in many arcana masters, and most arcana masters wouldn't dare to do anything to him. However, this still made him unhappy, because he still had to bow and scrape to an arcana master. He had no status whatsoever. In fact, this was also the voice of the entire noble group. The entire aristocratic group had huge wealth, but in the Arcane Kingdom, their status was not high, and they had to bow their heads in front of the arcanists. Many of the nobles were dissatisfied, but there was nothing they could do to resist the arcana masters. The power of arcane magic was not something that nobles could deal with. Of course, there were also knights among the nobles. Knights practiced martial arts and possessed great strength, but no matter how powerful their martial arts were, they were nothing compared to arcana technique. The power of arcana is actually a kind of rubbish. At that moment, Mr. Wu Wu was still wearing a black cloak. I can teach you a more powerful power. You can devour arcanists. You have boundless divine power. Do you dare to learn? You nobles used to have a high status, but since the emergence of the arcanists, you've basically been reduced to a lower class. Don't you want to make a comeback? Even if you can't overthrow the arcanist class, you can still compete with the arcanist class. In many universes, in fact, the arcanists belong to the theocracy, and the nobles belong to the imperial power. The theocracy and the imperial power have always been against each other, but now in the Arcane Kingdom, the nobles are the slaves of the arcanists. Your thinking is too narrow. You want to become an arcanist yourself, and you want the people in your family to become arcanists. Haven't you ever thought about being the emperor of the Arcane Kingdom and letting the nobles rise? In this way, you can have a big picture, get the fate of the Arcane Kingdom, become the son of fate of the entire empire, and finally become the existence of the realm of heaven. Don't always think about the old pattern. The pioneer is the one who gets the most. After listening to Sir's words, I'm really enlightened. But Sir, compared with the power of the Arcane Kingdom, we're too weak. What should we do now? If we learn other methods that aren't the power of the Arcane Kingdom, it's easy to be detected by the Arcane Network. At that time, it'll be a disaster for us. There were some foreign forces that poured into the Arcane Kingdom, but they were all killed. The great aristocrat Teddy Shakun was still trembling with fear. Don't worry, with me here, the Arcane Network can't detect it at all. When the Arcane Network can detect it, the power of the nobles has begun to grow, and you'll have enough power to speak, Mr. Neverwinter said. Mr. Neverwinter, is your power stronger than the Arcane Network? The great aristocrat Teddy Shakun asked. That's for sure. To tell you the truth, my power can swallow the entire Arcane Kingdom at any time. Your arcane kingdom looks strong, but in the multiverse, it's still very small. Mr. Neverwinter sneered. His tone was like looking at an ant. Mr. Neverwinter, with such a great existence like you, why did you enter the arcane kingdom? The great aristocrat Teddy Shakun asked such a question. Because I'm going to carry out a plan. Don't ask any unnecessary questions. If you want to be an ordinary person, I won't stop you. I can see that you're a person who thirsts for power. Besides, even if you enjoy the service of a lot of people and have a lot of wealth, after you die, you'll have nothing. If you don't become an arcanist, your lifespan is only 100 years, which will pass in the blink of an eye. Even if you use your wealth to exchange for some arcane potions to keep your life from aging, it's actually a drop in the bucket. Mr. Neverwinter was the temptation of the devil. Well, Mr. Neverwinter, great existence, I promise you everything. Finally, the great aristocrat Teddy Shakun couldn't resist the temptation. He overcame his fear of the arcanists and promised Mr. Neverwinter. Very well, I'll now teach you the way of plunder and devour. Remember, this way is the instinct of the old world. If you master it, you'll be able to conquer everything. Mr. Neverwinter suddenly transferred a force into the body of the great aristocrat Teddy Shakun. Immediately, Teddy Shakun's body trembled. There was a greedy suction force in his body, just like a person who had reached the Tao realm. He began to devour the spiritual energy of the universe for his own use. The way of cultivation in the old world is to awaken the instinct of plunder and devour in your body. When you're born, you'll absorb milk as nutrition. When you grow up, you'll be able to digest some grains and herbs. When you suddenly step into the Tao realm, you'll be able to absorb spiritual energy. In the end, you'll even be able to digest everything. The history of human evolution is to walk the way of devour to the extreme. You should use your instinct instead of walking the path of spiritual awakening. Mr. Neverwinter said, but I've reformed the way of devour again. From now on, you'll be true aristocrats. Those who walk the path of spiritual awakening will be your food. You can raise them and devour them when you're hungry. What? In the future, we nobles can raise arcanists like livestock and eat them? The great aristocrat Teddy Shakun felt the power in his body and suddenly swelled up. I'd like to play with those arcanist women. I had a maid who unknowingly awakened the power of arcanism. She immediately changed her fate and didn't show any mercy to me. That bitch, if I catch her, I'll make her wish she was dead. Very good. The fact that you have such thoughts will stimulate the hatred in your oppressed heart. Mr. Neverwinter smiled. All right, I've left a lot of memories in your head. You can follow those memories to cultivate. I've also added a brand to your body. You'll never be discovered by the arcane network. You can also pass on some of the cultivation methods to other aristocrats. They'll grow together with you and finally overthrow the rule of the arcanist. Yes, great existence, Mr. Neverwinter. I'll follow your orders. The great aristocrat Teddy Shakun quickly knelt down. At that moment, Mr. Neverwinter disappeared. The next moment, in another place in the arcane kingdom, Long Xiangtian appeared next to Mr. Neverwinter. Mr. Neverwinter, what's your intention in setting up the arcane kingdom? Long Xiangtian asked. Gu Chunsha has also come to the arcane kingdom. Mr. Neverwinter said, I'm going to use the arcane kingdom to besiege Gu Chunsha. This is the best opportunity to kill him. Can the arcane kingdom trap Gu Chunsha? Long Xiangtian was puzzled. Chapter 1051. The Good and the Bad, Mr. Nun. I too want to reach the undying realm. I'm not interested in the war between the old and new worlds. More importantly, I can help you eliminate Gu Chunsha. Long Xiangtian knew that Mr. Nun didn't trust him, especially after he joined forces with Zhang Ziren and the others to kill Fa Wuxian. However, he explained, Mr. Nun, the reason we killed Fa Wuxian is simple. It was to protect ourselves. If Fa Wuxian reaches the undying realm, forget about us, even you will be afraid of being devoured. Fa Wuxian is merely a chess piece of mine. He is crazy and hysterical. However, it is precisely because of this that I am able to use him. Unfortunately, it was ruined by all of you. Now, it has caused our plan to fail at the last moment. All of you will have to bear the responsibility for this. Mr. Wu Wu was actually very annoyed. Fa Wuxian and Gu Qinsha were complete enemies. If Fa Wuxian was allowed to grow, he would become the greatest threat to Gu Qinsha. Plus, Mr. Nun had a way to control Fa Wuxian. If Fa Wuxian reached the undying realm, he would immediately fight Gu Qinsha to the death. At that time, if Fa Wuxian gave up on himself and died together with Gu Qinsha, it would cause severe damage to Gu Qinsha. That way, Mr. Nun and the others would be able to kill Gu Qinsha. Unfortunately, all of this was ruined by Long Xiangtian and the others, but Mr. Nun wouldn't say it out loud. Plus, Mr. Nun wanted Fa Wuxian to devour the fourth, Gu Huasha, Long Xiangtian, and Zhang Ziren to reach the undying realm. Well, that's it. When Mr. Wu Wu saw that Long Xiangtian was about to say something, he immediately waved his hand. The top priority is to listen to my arrangements, lurk in the Arcane Kingdom, set up the entire Arcane Kingdom into a huge network, and trap Gu Qinsha in it. The person who obtained the Faoxian gourd will fall into your hands sooner or later. Don't destroy my plan. Mr. Nun, what's your plan? Long Xiangtian asked. My plan is to turn the Arcane Kingdom into a huge trap and bury Gu Qinsha. Of course, I can feel that Gu Qinsha has also entered the Arcane Kingdom. He has the same idea as me. He wants to set up a trap and bury the Arcane Kingdom. Let's see who has the best means. Of course, I have the biggest advantage. Do you know what it is? Mr. Nun looked at Long Xiangtian. I know. Long Xiangtian had already thought of that. That is, the Arcanists of the Arcane Kingdom are all people who have mastered the Dragonless Mind Sutra. Although they won't obey Gu Qinsha, they're still talented. Gu Qinsha actually wants to change the minds of these people and then let them enter the new world. Gu Qinsha won't destroy them, and Mr. Nun, you have no scruples, you can destroy them at will. In this way, Gu Qinsha will be restrained in the Arcane Kingdom. He won't be able to exert his power, and you'll have the upper hand. And to a certain extent, the gourd that Fa Wuxian has transformed into is also in the undying realm. It will help you, because it also contains the mark of Fa Wuxian. Fa Wuxian's hatred for Gu Qinsha is indelible. Even if there's a chance to perish together, the gourd will really be destroyed. Long Xiangtian, you said it well? Mr. Nun took a deep look at Long Xiangtian. Don't worry, as long as you destroy the new world as your foundation, you're my friend, we're not enemies. In the future, when I'm fully awakened, more origins will be born, and the origins will fall on you. I'll even deprive Gu Qinsha of his destiny for you, so that you can advance to the undying realm and become Mr. Nun Dragon. What do you think? Thank you, Mr. Nun, for your reward. Long Xiangtian certainly didn't believe it, but he had to show it. He pretended to believe it. But, Mr. Nun, you're the existence that was born from that terrible origin. It also gave birth to Mr. Wu Xian, Mr. Wu Wei, Mr. Wu Xiang. Will more similar existences be born in the future? Will they all be in the undying realm? How many can be born at most? That's hard to say. Maybe one will be born, maybe many will be born. Maybe some of the origins will fall into the hands of someone, allowing that person to become a undying realm expert. There are too many changes in the future, I can't predict it. Mr. Nun said, especially after the new world is born. You see, the new world is constantly spitting out cosmos. In the sea of cosmos in the human world, there will be many embryonic cosmos being born at every moment. These cosmos will grow stronger by themselves, giving birth to civilizations and heavenly Tao experts. When the number of heavenly Tao experts reaches a certain level, they will devour each other, fuse with each other, and finally, a undying realm expert will be born. So, there will be more people in the undying realm in the future? Long Xiang Tian asked. That's natural. Did you see that before the establishment of the New World, there were very few masters of the heavenly Tao realm? But now, after the battle with Fa Wuxian, there are more and more masters of the heavenly Tao realm. In the process of fighting with Fa Wuxian, thousands of masters of the heavenly Tao realm were born at an accelerated pace. But now, these masters of the heavenly Tao realm have come to the giant universe for the immortal Fa Wuxian's immortal gourd. Some of them even lurked and entered the arcane kingdom. Mr. Nun said, "Of course, these heavenly Tao experts who entered the arcane kingdom have to behave with their tails between their legs. Because the network of the arcane kingdom is very large, except for the undying realm experts, almost all the heavenly Tao experts are suppressed. You're now in the heavenly Tao realm. If you don't have my help, is it difficult for you to exert your power?" Yes, the network of the arcane kingdom is increasing all the time. Every day there are countless arcanists contributing. It makes me feel like I'm facing a new world. Long Xiang Tian nodded. Well, you'll become an arcanist now, find your own identity, grow gradually, and then go to the arcane kingdom to take control of the power. With your cultivation, you'll soon reach the highest realm. When the time comes, I'll teach you how to do it, Mr. Nun instructed. Yes. Long Xiang Tian nodded quickly. He didn't dare to disobey. Mr. Nun disappeared in a swoosh. Nobody knew what he was doing. At that time, in some remote places of the arcane kingdom, there were huge farms everywhere. There were civilians, slaves, knights, and adventurers in the farms. The territory of the arcane kingdom was extremely large. It was almost the same as the land of infinity. In many remote places, there were no arcanists, but the power of the arcane network had completely covered that area. In those remote places, the ruling class was the nobles, not the arcanists. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh in a remote mountain forest. A few people landed. They were very embarrassed, their bodies fell to the ground, they almost lost all their strength. We're masters of the progenitor realm. I didn't expect it to be so difficult to enter the arcane kingdom. I feel that all my strength is suppressed. I can't break out at all. And we have to be careful to hide, otherwise, the network of the arcane kingdom will cause devastating damage to us. A man stood up and patted the dust off his body. Old Meng, how do you feel? At that time, a woman asked another man. I also feel that my strength is suppressed, and I think that even if I'm promoted to the realm of heaven path, I'll be suppressed very badly. It won't be much better than us. I didn't expect the arcane kingdom to be so tyrannical. No wonder, legend has it that the gourd transformed by Fa Wuxian will lurk in the arcane kingdom. We should suffer a little now. As long as we get that gourd, we can reach the realm of immortality, the man named Old Meng said. I've inquired about everything about the arcane kingdom. It's dominated by arcanists. If we can become arcanists, we can become the higher-ups of the arcane kingdom, so it'll be much more convenient to do things, a man said. Arcanists are actually people who have awakened the power of the soul. These people have mastered the dragonless cultivation method. It's a pity that I reached the progenitor realm by relying on the way of plunder of the old world, not the power of the soul of the new world. The woman suddenly said, By the way, Old Meng, you've mastered the dragonless cultivation method. Why don't you switch to arcane arts now, so we can become your subordinates and look for the immortality gourd together? Ha ha ha! Old Meng suddenly laughed. His laughter was very ferocious. Old Meng, what do you want to do? Several of his companions felt that something was wrong. There's only one immortality gourd, how should we divide it? Old Meng looked at his companions fiercely. You're all masters of the progenitor realm, there's no use here, It's better for me to kill you and sacrifice you to the arcane network here. I'll transform into an arcanist and get the power of your sacrifice. The arcane network will completely recognize me. At the same time, my arcane power will also reach a very high level. I can immediately call the wind and summon the rain in this arcane kingdom. Find that gourd. Once I get that gourd, I'll be in the immortality realm. Old Meng, you're simply a devil. Several of his companions were shocked. They wanted to escape, some wanted to activate their spells, but unfortunately, they had lost all their power. Now they were almost the same as ordinary people. The power in their bodies was suppressed very badly. And Old Meng, who had mastered the dragonless cultivation method, was actually an arcanist in essence. Arcane arts, sacrifice. Chapter 1052. Chapter 1. All kinds. His companions were masters of the ancestor realm. But when they entered the arcane continent, they were suppressed by the power of the arcane network. They were almost like ordinary people, but their bodies still contained a huge amount of power of the ancestor realm. Now they were sacrificed by Old Meng to the arcane network. Immediately, the arcane network could get the power of so many ancestor realms. In exchange, it could recognize Old Meng's identity and also improve Old Meng's arcane level. Of course, Old Meng had practiced the dragonless cultivation method. If he hadn't practiced the dragonless cultivation method, he wouldn't have been recognized by the arcane network of the arcane kingdom. Arcane level, 5,000. Boom. Old Meng sacrificed these companions of the ancestor realm. Immediately, the arcane power in his body was boiling, and there was an arcane robe on his body. There were 5,000 stars on the arcane robe. These stars gathered together and flowed like the Milky Way. Unlike ordinary robes, it was a reward from the arcane network, which represented a great contribution to the arcane network. That was to say, even the high-level arcanists of the arcane kingdom, the arcane guild, didn't recognize Old Meng, but the great arcane network had recognized Old Meng. In this way, he could be said to have a firm foothold in the arcane kingdom. The arcane kingdom is too big. The arcanists of the arcane guild form the highest level of the kingdom. Although it's the ruling class, it's not monolithic. There are places worth currying favor. In the arcane kingdom, there are also many wandering arcanists who painstakingly study arcane by themselves. I'm one of them now. I have to find the gourd formed by Fa Wuxian and advance to the immortal realm. As long as I advance to the immortal realm, between heaven and earth, I'll be able to do whatever I want. I'll no longer have to worry about anything. The arcane kingdom will be in my pocket. With the arcane kingdom, I can unify the universe and become the strongest existence. Even the new world will be trampled by me. While talking, Old Meng suddenly activated the arcane skills. Arcane, space, manufacturing, puppets, elves. Soon, in the space, an arcane tower appeared. The arcane tower had 99 floors. All of them were golden in color and inlaid with many gems. These gems were arcane gems that he created out of thin air. Arcane gems were extremely precious. They could be used to seal arcane skills and then release them directly. For example, an arcana master who had reached the rank of 5,000 could seal many of his arcana techniques into arcana gems and give them to a lower-ranked arcana master, who would be able to use them. An arcanist who had reached level 5,000 could use his own mind to create an arcane skill gems. A powerful arcanist who had reached level 5,000 could create an arcane skill gems with of arcane skill of his. Just as Old Meng sacrificed his companions and obtained a huge arcane level, he created the arcane tower and hid in the depths of space. Another master coldly watched his actions. The master seemed to have just entered the arcane kingdom, but he didn't seem to have suffered any damage. The arcanist was a young man. He was also wearing an arcane magic robe with 30,000 stars on it. I, Lu Jingrong, am in the Great Gate universe of the Way of Heaven. In order to pursue the immortal realm, I gathered all my power and even sacrificed the Great Gate Universe and my own Great Gate Universe to the Arcane Network. That's how I was recognized by the Arcane Network and obtained the status of an Arcanist with level 30,000. Old Meng, you've only sacrificed a few companions and you want to get that gourd? It's simply wishful thinking. Capture him. The young man, Lu Jingrong, suddenly activated an arcane skill. Arcane skill, Great Seal skill, Great Binding skill, Great Entanglement skill. Arcane skill, Eliminate cause and effect. Arcane skill, Obliterate traces. Arcane skill, Soundless. In an instant, many incredible arcane skills were activated. These arcane skills gathered together and immediately sealed Old Meng. Even the slightest fluctuation in the space couldn't be caused. In the Arcane Kingdom, high-level Arcanists couldn't fight casually. Once they fought, it would lead to the death of countless people and the destruction of countless cities. The consequences were unpredictable. At that time, the Arcane Union would issue an arrest warrant. But the young man, Lu Jingrong, caught Old Meng in an instant without causing any fluctuation. Even the Arcane Network didn't respond. Lu Jingrong had extremely high authority in the Arcane Network because he had sacrificed a universe to the Arcane Network. Who are you? Old Meng was terrified. You can sacrifice others, others can also sacrifice you. The mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. Lu Jingrong said, Old Meng, I won't get any benefits from sacrificing you. You can be my subordinate, but I'm going to control your mind. Sign a soul-slave contract with me. Arcane skill contract. Then, Lu Jingrong activated the arcane skill and formed a contract in front of him. There were many harsh words on the contract. From then on, Old Meng would be Lu Jingrong's slave. His life and everything belonged to his master. His master could kill him at any time and make him do anything. There were many kinds of arcane skills in the contract system. There were slave contracts, equality contracts, love contracts, property contracts, sales contracts, and so on. As long as the two parties signed it, they would be bound by the arcane contract. If they violated it, they would suffer serious consequences. In the Arcane Kingdom, arcane contract was very popular. All commercial sales, contracts, and transactions between nobles were almost all arcane contracts. So in the Arcane Kingdom, there were very few lawsuits because there was no need for a lawsuit. Those who violated the arcane contract would be directly punished by the terms of the contract. Sign the contract, Lu Jingrong said. I won't sign it, I won't sign it. Old Meng looked at the contract in front of him, and there was a look of fear on his face. Very well, arcane skill, it's better to die than to live. Lu Jingrong injected an arcane skill of torture into Old Meng's body. Suddenly, Old Meng screamed, it was really better to die than to live. This arcane skill of torture was the latest development. This arcane skill of torture was actually a combination of many arcane skills, such as pain skill, illusion skill, bone extraction skill, skinning skill, recovery skill, and so on. The purpose was to torture the opponent, but not to let the opponent die. Let the opponent be in pain that was worse than death and finally compromised. Sure enough, after 2 hours of torture, Old Meng was only left with one breath. I'm willing to sign the contract, I'm willing to sign it. Very well, sign it. Lu Jingrong sneered. Then, Old Meng engraved his soul brand on the contract. Suddenly, the contract disappeared. Boom. Old Meng recovered and knelt in front of Lu Jingrong. Master, I'm at your command. Very well, now we can start to lay out the plan. Lu Jingrong's body flashed and disappeared. Another extremely strong person in the realm of Heaven Path has entered the Arcane Kingdom. Gu Chensha saw the scene clearly. This Lu Jingrong is really amazing. He's so cruel that he sacrificed the universe that gave birth to him to the Arcane Network in exchange for the recognition of the Arcane Network. It seems that he's determined to get the gourd condensed by Fa Wuxian. Gu Chensha pointed. and suddenly everything in the arcane kingdom appeared in front of him. Every moment there were countless people entering the arcane kingdom. As soon as some people entered, they were suppressed by the network of the arcane kingdom and struggled to survive. Some people directly sacrificed to the network of the arcane kingdom and obtained their identity. As a result, the network of the arcane kingdom began to expand. The entire arcane network also completely opened up some things and its power surged. That was actually the immigration authority. Many people began to search for the supreme immortal level gourd and entered the giant universe. The instinct of the arcane network seemed to have discovered something and began to attract those masters to enter. As a condition for the masters to enter, they had to sacrifice their power to the arcane network. In this way, the power of the arcane network itself was almost increasing day by day, almost becoming a combination of multiple universes. Whoosh! Gu Chensha stepped directly into the deepest part of the arcane kingdom. In the deepest space, there was an extremely magnificent arcane tower in the space to suppress everything. That was the highest arcane tower of the Arcane Guild, and also the place where the government of the Arcane Kingdom was located. The highest elders of the Arcane Kingdom lived there. Through the arcane network, they managed everything in the whole kingdom and the whole continent. Jiang Gu entered it. Then, he came to the top floor of the arcane tower. Inside was a huge ball. Next to the ball, there were more than a dozen elders sitting. These elders wore arcane robes with more than 50,000 stars. There was an arcanist with a white beard who reached the ground. His arcane level was almost 100,000. The arcane network is getting more and more difficult to control. Now that we've joined forces, we still feel powerless. The arcanist elder with a white beard who reached the ground said, "We haven't been able to control the arcane network since ancient times. The entire arcane network was derived from the arcane universe. We were just the first to discover the arcane network and then make use of it." An arcanist with 60,000 stars said, "In the past, we could still control the situation. But now, since the Big Bang, many universes together with our arcane kingdom have formed this giant universe. The arcane network's self-ability has awakened. It may have felt the danger and began to expand and accept outsiders. What should we do now? If the outsiders are getting stronger and stronger, it's likely that we won't be able to control the arcane kingdom and the power will be seized by others. For the arcane network, now we're just its stewards, managing the wealth of the empire. If there's a better steward, he'll immediately replace us," an elder with 80,000 stars said. Chapter 1053. High-level promotion. That was the highest meeting of the elders of the arcane kingdom. All of them had reached tens of thousands of arcane level. They could be called ancestors, and some of them were infinitely close to the realm of heaven. Once the arcane level reached 100,000, it was the realm of heaven. "Joseph, your arcane level is about to break through to 100,000. You're the highest figure among us. You can see the arcane network very clearly. What do you think our arcane kingdom and even the arcane continent should do in the future? What's our fate?" At that moment, an elder with more than 70,000 stars asked another elder with more than 90,000 stars. The elder with more than 90,000 stars was Joseph. His white beard was dragging to the ground. "I can't see the future clearly, but I know that our elders and the Supreme Council's control over the arcane kingdom is getting weaker and weaker. Recently, I've felt that many powerful forces have entered the arcane kingdom. There are even other universes, masters in the realm of heaven, who sacrifice their own universes to gain the recognition of the arcane network, so that they themselves have become arcanists above 100,000. Joseph, whose white beard was dragging to the ground, said, "That is to say, there are arcanists who haven't been enthroned in the Arcane Guild, and there are masters in the realm of heaven? Will there be more and more of them now?" A few arcane elders said, Our top priority is to quickly improve our arcane level, otherwise those powerful figures will certainly seize power. By that time, I'm afraid we'll all die without a burial place. We've ruled the arcane kingdom for so many years. It's extremely difficult to reach the realm of heaven and make our arcane level reach more than 100,000 unless we can get a huge universe to sacrifice. But that's a very cruel thing. The power of our arcane magic ultimately depends on our own mind power. Joseph said, "Legend has it that there's a new world that also relies on mind power to exert its own power. That new world is extremely huge, much bigger than the giant universe that exists in our arcane world. It's full of people who have awakened their mind power. If we can plunder a lot of talents from there and become our arcanists, then the arcane network will completely favor us." Well said. Just as these arcana masters were talking, a voice rang out. "Who is it?" Joseph furiously activated an arcana technique. Arcana technique seal. Arcana technique appear. Even his arcana technique, which was close to a rank of 100,000, was completely useless. It was as if his arcana techniques had lost their effectiveness. Then Gu Qinsha appeared in front of him. "Everyone, you've just talked about the new world. I'm the Lord of the New World, the first person to awaken his soul, Gu Qinsha. Your arcane kingdom is about to usher in a catastrophe. I'm here to save you," Gu Qinsha said. "The Lord of a New World." When all of the elders saw Gu Qinsha, they immediately banded together and prepared to unleash their own arcana techniques in an attempt to suppress Gu Qinsha. Arcana technique, seamless fate. At that moment, Gu Qinsha activated an arcane spell. That arcane spell had never appeared in the arcane kingdom. It was created by Gu Qinsha himself. It was to continuously reveal the fate of all the creatures in the arcane kingdom and even the arcane network. Seamless meant that it was uninterrupted. That was to show all the fate lines from birth to the end without missing anything. If your arcana techniques are in the tens of thousands, the arcana techniques in the realm of heaven path are more than 100,000, and the entire arcane network is in the realm of heaven path. But its arcana techniques are about 100 million, and it's still expanding. It's a wonder, it's 1,000 times the power of the realm of heaven path. Of course, 1,000 times the realm of heaven path is still the realm of heaven path. Gu Qinsha activated the seamless fate arcana technique. All the arcane elders couldn't move, they could only watch the changes in the fate of the arcane kingdom and the arcane land. If you want to forcibly calculate my arcana techniques in terms of numbers, it's about quadrillion, because the realm of heaven path is the peak in the old world, and the immortal realm is actually something in the new world. There's no immortal realm in the old world, not to mention the realm above the immortal realm, there's no immortal realm. Gu Qinsha said again, "Everyone, your giant universe is a confrontation between Fa Wuxian and the will of hundreds of trillions of universes. The Big Bang occurred, millions of universes gathered together and formed your giant universe. In this giant universe, there's the arcane continent, the immortal continent, the giant continent, the dragon continent, the devil continent, the technology continent, even the magic continent, the orc continent, and even the dead soul continent. But the arcane continent is the most promising one. In the future, it'll definitely unify the giant universe and conquer all the continent. Your political ideas and foundations are good, very interesting. But now, because of the immortal gourd that Fa Wuxian transformed, many masters have entered the arcane kingdom. You've also felt that for the arcane network, as long as it keeps increasing its power, it doesn't matter. And you'll be completely abandoned. Now I'm here to save you." Whoosh! An arcane robe appeared on Gu Qinsha's body. His arcane robe was engraved with countless Milky Ways. Each Milky Way had countless twinkling stars. Upon closer inspection, each star was real, and there were countless creatures living within it. These creatures seemed to be using arcane techniques and learning arcane technique. How is that possible? All the elders' eyes almost popped out. Why is it impossible? I'm the Lord of the New World. It can even be said that the hundreds of trillions of universes that constitute the human world were all created by me. I'm the king of inconceivable. My power can destroy the arcane kingdom, the arcane continent, and the arcane network tens of millions of times. Gu Qinsha said, I'm here to help you. Why are you so hostile to me? For me, the arcane kingdom and the arcane network aren't worth stealing. We, the New World, never steal any power from the outside, we only contribute our own power. Great being, your power is indeed hundreds of millions of times greater than our universe and continent. Please retract your magic power. At that time, Joseph smiled bitterly. What do you need me to do? Our power is insignificant in front of you. Why did you come here? Your behavior is like a giant dragon turning into an ant and playing in the ant's nest. It doesn't make sense. Now many giant dragons have turned into ants and entered the ant's nest. I'm here to capture these giant dragons. Gu Qinsha said, You're in a dangerous situation now. You'll be destroyed at any time because of the battle with the giant dragons. Then what can you do to improve our power? At that time, Joseph, the strongest elder, said the most critical words. It's very simple. Your power is actually in your own mind. Gu Qinsha sighed. The power of an arcana technique originates from one's own heart. One can use one's heart to activate the various elements in the universe and combine them together to form an incredible variety of arcana techniques. But although you've awakened the power in the depths of your heart, it's still not enough. It's not thorough. It's like a pipe. If there are impurities in it, the water will flow slowly. If you can dredge the pipe, or even expand the pipe, then the power will increase by dozens of times. I'll now pass on some of the New World's experience to you. Gu Qinsha didn't give these people power, but he taught them experience. In terms of using their own mind power, they were still children. Buzz, sure enough, countless powers kept surging out. Swish, 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 these doyens received Gu Qinsha's experience and gradually entered a state of meditation. During this process, many impurities in their hearts were cleared out, and even more spirit force gushed out like tidal wave. If it could be said that in the past, their arcana energy was like a small stream flowing out from the depths of their hearts. But now, their arcana energy was like the opening of a dam, releasing a flood. The rumbling of their spirit energy shook the heavens and the earth. I've finally broken through. Joseph let out a long howl as tens of thousands of stars appeared on his arcana magical robe. That was a total of 18 stars, double the amount he had before. He was now in the Heavendao level, and had even more to spare. As for the other elders, they all broke through to the way of Heaven Realm, and the stars on their arcane magic robes also doubled, and some even multiplied by several times. Breaking through is this simple? These arcane magic elders' impression of Gu Qinsha was even more unfathomable. Although they had reached the way of Heaven Realm and their power had increased many times compared to before, the more powerful they were, the weaker they felt in front of Gu Qinsha. Do you feel that the arcane network is much closer to you now, and your control power has greatly increased? Gu Qinsha asked. Thank you, teacher. From now on, you're our teacher. Joseph and others bowed deeply to Gu Qinsha and then stood up respectfully. We're willing to change the structure of the empire, and we'll honor you as the eternal emperor of the arcane kingdom. Chapter 1054. There are many types of arcane techniques, and there are thousands upon thousands of lineages. The basic arcane techniques are fire, ice, light, dark, earth, metal, necromancy, lightning, defense, plant, summoning, space, air, illusion, intelligence. Gu Qinsha was in the deepest part of the Senate. He was studying arcane techniques with the elders who had just advanced to the heavenly Tao realm. The essence of the arcana was the combination of spiritual power and the elements of everything in the world. Arcana could also be combined with each other. Even with Gu Chencha's cultivation and wisdom, it would not be easy for him to innovate the current arcana technique system. He wanted to rethink all of the arcana technique systems and create more arcana techniques that he couldn't use himself but could still be used by other arcana masters. The arcane technique system included both science and technology, as well as immortal Dao techniques, and many other unique things. Gu Chensha knew that enriching the arcana system would be very beneficial to the arcana network. That was the root of the arcana network. The development of the Arcana Society was the fundamental order of the Arcana Network. Power was secondary. Gu Chencha's intention was clear. He wanted to perfect the Arcana system to a terrifying degree. He wanted to integrate food, clothing, housing, and transportation, the enjoyment of the human body, and even the joy of the soul into the Arcana system. That way, the Arcana Network would be indestructible. The Arcana Network gradually took shape and could trap Mr. Nothingness and the others. Gu Chensha could use his trump card and kill Mr. Nothingness in one fell swoop. From then on, the world would be peaceful and things would be done according to the rules of the new world. In the end, Gu Chensha would reach Immortal Level 10. Boom! As expected, when Gu Chensha used his wisdom to perfect the Arcana system, the Arcana Network responded. A lot of knowledge gathered into the Arcana Network, and many parts of the network became stronger and harder to destroy. The Arcana Network has been strengthened, Arthur said. Masters of the Heavenly Law can no longer destroy the network, and our control over the Arcana Network has been greatly strengthened. The rule of the Arcana Kingdom is basically under our control. That's right. You were the first rulers of the Arcana Kingdom. You created the order of the Arcana continent and contributed greatly to the initial stability of the Arcana Network. The reason why the control over the Arcana Network is getting weaker is that the Arcana Network needs to develop. Your progress can no longer keep up with its needs, so it will abandon you. If it doesn't abandon you, it will be abandoned by the times. We'll always listen to the guidance of our teacher. The elders knelt down again. Gu Chensha nodded, his body swayed, and he disappeared. When the elders saw that Gu Chensha had disappeared, they all cheered up. Everyone, let's get started. The Arcana Kingdom, the Senate, must rise again. Those arcanists who are a threat to our rule can't be left alive. We must imprison them all and change their mind. The huge Senate reached an agreement, and then the entire Senate was alarmed. The Arcana Guild's huge power was mobilized. The Arcana Kingdom was like a dragon awakening. It began to heal itself, reflect on itself, strengthen the rule of the entire continent, and strengthen the order. For a while, many arcanists began to be recruited or arrested by the Arcana Guild. Many of the Ancestor Realm figures who entered the Arcana continent, and even those in the Heavenly Law Realm, couldn't escape the arrest of the Arcana Guild. The highest elders of the Arcana Guild had all reached the Heavenly Law Realm. Each of their strength was tyrannical to the extreme. They also controlled part of the authority of the Arcana Network, gathered the power of many arcanists, and suppressed the foreign forces. For a while, several years or decades had passed, the order of the entire Arcana Kingdom had been greatly strengthened. The Arcana Guild of the Arcana Kingdom, which was restless and showed signs of collapse, didn't become chaotic. Instead, it became stronger and stronger. Things aren't going well. At this time, Lu Jingrong, an arcanist in the Heavenly Law Realm, was very annoyed. He was now a farmer in a small farm. The farm wasn't very big. There was a water mill, cattle and sheep farms, and so on. The field was only a few thousand acres, and there were hundreds of slaves working there. In the entire Arcana Kingdom, he was considered a wealthy class among the civilians. There was no other way. Now that the Arcana Guild was unprecedentedly powerful, many wandering arcanists were arrested. But Lu Jingrong didn't want to be recruited, He could only hide as a civilian. He used all his cultivation to seal his arcane skills so that he wouldn't be discovered. Originally, he sacrificed his universe and carried out many plans. Finally, he broke into the Arcana Kingdom, and he had great authority and power. He wanted to subvert the entire Arcana Guild and become the ruler of the Arcana Kingdom. But he didn't expect that decades ago, the power of the Arcana Guild suddenly increased, and they started a purge. That led to him hiding his identity and becoming a civilian of the Arcana Kingdom. There were too many civilians in the Arcana Kingdom, especially in recent decades, after the Arcana Guild of the Arcana Kingdom became unprecedentedly powerful. They won successive battles and obtained large tracts of land and space. The civilians had experienced an explosive growth, and more importantly, the development of medical arcana had also grown, which greatly increased the lifespan of the civilians. Basically, they wouldn't be tortured by illness, and the birth rate and survival rate had also increased many times. What's the power that caused the power of the Arcana Guild to increase so much? Lu Jingrong was puzzled. He hadn't figured it out in the past few decades. Arcana, space diversion, space reinforcement, space seal. Just as Lu Jingrong was trying to find a way to break out of the predicament, suddenly, the space he was in was instantly activated by dozens of powerful space arcana and time arcana. Everything was reinforced, sealed, imprisoned, and the shackles of order space completely blocked everything. He only felt that he was imprisoned in the depths of a space prison. "I've been discovered?" Just as he was about to activate the same space arcana to escape, several of the highest elders of the Arcana Guild appeared in front of him. "Great Arcanist, the existence of the Arcana level of more than 100,000, why are you hiding here and willing to be an ordinary civilian?" An Arcana elder said. "How did you find me?" Lu Jingrong was puzzled. The power of the Arcana Guild is increasing, and its authority over the Arcana network is further penetrating. "That's right, your power used to be above us, because you sacrificed the entire universe. But in the past few decades, you haven't made any contributions, so the origin of the Arcana network has given up on you. Naturally, everything about you is known to us," the Arcana elder said. "What do you want?" Lu Jingrong asked. "It's very simple, we invite you to join our Senate and become an elder. You can make decisions in the Senate, big or small. You're now one of the highest level arcanists, and you've also made great contributions to the Arcana network, so you're qualified to join the Senate. Second, if you don't agree, we'll seal you together, suppress you, and imprison you in our prison. We'll make you reflect on your actions, and we'll even deprive you of your Arcana cultivation." The Arcana elders said. "If that's the case, do I have any other choice?" Lu Jingrong smiled bitterly. "Lu Jingrong, your original intention was to control the entire Arcana Kingdom, and it's actually very simple." One of the elders said, "If you join our Senate, you can fight for the vote, get the highest Arcana authority, and become the head of the Arcana Kingdom. Of course, the head of the Arcana Kingdom will be changed every 5 years, and you have to rerun and get the vote. If you can really make all the people approve of you, then your contribution to the Arcana Kingdom is great enough. Even if you're the head of the Arcana Kingdom forever, it's not a big deal. Over the years, I'm sure you've seen the election system of the Arcana Kingdom's head of state. The original head of state is Lord Joseph, and now it's Lord Ramon. Because Lord Ramon has recently won the war against the Devil Prison Empire, he has a huge popularity." Lu Jingrong knew that the election of the head of state of the Arcana Kingdom was now truly open and transparent. First, the most meritorious people were selected, and then those people competed, elected, and canvassed vote. In the end, the person with the highest voter turnout was the head of state. Of course, the head of state not only had a lot of power, but he also had a lot of responsibilities. He was definitely not the kind of emperor who only knew how to enjoy life and kill whoever he wanted. Everyone had to crawl under his feet and tremble in fear. No one could go against him. That kind of head of state wasn't what Lu Jingrong wanted to be. However, he really didn't have a choice now. "Well, I'm willing to join the Senate," Lu Jingrong said. "Well, let's sign the Arcana contract." At that moment, a huge contract floated over, and there were various terms on it. All the members of the Senate also signed the contract. It was called a contract, but in fact, it was a kind of oath to maintain the rule of the Empire, promote the majesty of the Arcana, abide by the laws of the Empire, and so on. It was similar to an oath, but it had a huge binding force. Chapter 1055. The general trend has been formed after signing the contract. Lu Jingrong, a master of the heavenly way, joined the Senate of the Arcane Kingdom and became one of the members of the Supreme Council. He had the highest voting and decision-making power in the entire empire. But for Lu Jingrong, it wasn't a benefit, it was just a lot more obligations. But for the Arcane Kingdom's parliament, it was a great thing. There was another master of the heavenly way, the power of the parliament was strengthened again, so that the core control of the empire wouldn't be lost, and it was more likely to win in foreign wars. In the past few decades, the Supreme Council of the Arcane Kingdom had more than a dozen masters of the heavenly way. They gathered together, so that the Arcane Kingdom, the Arcane Continent, and the Arcane Network developed rapidly. Many new Arcana spells had been developed, and the Arcana spells had shifted from combat to service-oriented. Low-level Arcana masters would first learn service-oriented and life-oriented Arcana spells, rather than fighting right from the start. Fireballs and lightning danced everywhere. At that time, Gu Chunsha firmly grasped the core of the empire, the Supreme Council of the Senate. The power of all the senators was moving in the direction that Gu Chunsha wanted. In this way, while the Arcane Network was developing, it was gradually infiltrated by Gu Chunsha. Gu Chunsha wanted to expand the Arcana Network and turn it into a trap. He wanted to trap and kill Mr. Everlasting and the others. Mr. Everlasting had the same idea. However, in the past few decades, Mr. Nun and the others seemed to have completely retreated. But Gu Chunsha knew that these people were just lurking and carrying out big moves. But these big moves were under the eyes of Gu Chunsha. In the beginning, Mr. Nun seemed to want to encourage the nobles to rebel, to use the way of devouring to transform the entire Arcane Kingdom, but then he failed. But that wasn't the key. The most important thing was the native who obtained the nothingness gourd, Mehali. That man was still an arcanist, but his level wasn't high, and he had always kept a low profile. However, Gu Chunsha had been keeping an eye on this person at all times, and he had even split off his clone, Nader, to become an incredibly powerful Arcana master, attracting Mehali's attention. Mehali seemed to have inherited Fa Wuxian's sinister and vicious personality, but he was more reserved and didn't devour anything. Of course, when Fa Wuxian devoured everything, it was to quickly ascend to the supreme immortal realm. Now that Mehali had obtained the gourd, he already had the supreme immortal realm foundation. As long as he gradually released the enormous power in his body and suppressed the instincts of Fa Wuxian inside the gourd, he would be able to obtain the ultimate power of the supreme immortal realm. But how could Gu Chunsha let them have their way? His clone, Nader, was constantly showing off his presence, causing Mehali's heart to burn with rage. The will of Fa Wuxian inside the gourd was nourished by his hatred and couldn't be destroyed no matter what. As a result, Mehali couldn't obtain all of the supreme immortal realm power inside the gourd. Gu Chunsha's idea was also very unique. He wanted to rescue Mehali at the most critical moment when Mehali was about to be eroded by the brand of Fa Wuxian. He wanted Mehali to understand the principles of his new world and understand that only the power of the new world could save everything in the old world. That way, he would be able to achieve a complete victory and reform Mehali, causing Mr. Nun and the others to fail. He could also strengthen the power of the arcane kingdom and seal Mr. Nunn and the others, causing them to die without a burial ground. Mr. Nunn has also discovered Mehali, but he's still observing from the shadows and hasn't made a move yet. Gu Chernsha had already noticed Mr. Nunn and the others. However, he didn't act rashly. Mr. Nunn didn't notice him. Although they were both in the supreme immortal realm, Gu Chernsha, who had established the 10th level of the immortal realm, had actually far surpassed Mr. Nunn in terms of the structure of the realm. To be honest, if Gu Chernsha was willing to destroy the human world, countless universes, or even new worlds, he could completely annihilate Mr. Wu Wu and the others to the point where not even a trace of them would be left. That was what Mr. Nunn was worried about. Right now, they did not have the power to completely compete with Gu Chernsha. They could only take advantage of Gu Chernsha's mentality of not attacking the rat for fear of harming the rat. Like a rat in a sewer, they did some shady things to strengthen themselves. At this time, Gu Chernsha's real body had turned into an ordinary arcanist. He was carrying out public welfare activities with a group of young arcanists who had just become arcanists. In the past few decades, under the rules of the Arcane Guild, all young arcanists who had just become arcanists had to carry out public welfare activities for 3 months. For example, they had to use arcane spells to clean the streets, repair damaged houses, cure diseases for civilians for free, and at the same time, reclaim wasteland and plant trees. This was used to nurture the arcanists' love for the world. The Arcane Guild had always nurtured a belief, and that was that arcanists were the protectors of the world. They had to protect every blade of grass and every tree in the world. Destroying the world was a disgrace, and protecting the creation of the world was a glory. This was very close to the idea of the New World. Cleanse. Hundreds of young low-level arcanists worked together to activate the cleanse. In an instant, a filthy city ditch overflowed with dirty water. The stench was overwhelming, and there were mosquitoes and stolen goods everywhere. However, as soon as the cleanse was activated, a ray of arcane light splashed over, and the entire ditch turned into flowing water. The filth was completely gone, and even the mud at the bottom of the ditch had disappeared. This was the power of arcane spells. In the past, when the Great Yong dynasty was still in power, many cultivators had done public welfare activities in the divine central continent. They repaired bridges and roads, cleaned ditches, and removed silt from rivers. They used their innate energy or arcane energy to dig out the silt in the river, and then poured clean water into it. Only then could the river become clean. The process was very complicated. But now, as soon as the arcane cleanse was used, the river immediately became clean. This was something that Tao techniques and the immortal path could not compare to. Gu Chernsha could already see that the moment the cleanse was activated, the arcane power contained all sorts of disintegration, purification, and expulsion powers. These powers instantly disintegrated the mud in the river, completely removing the filth. The original cleanse was not so powerful, but in recent decades, under Gu Chernsha's secret guidance, various low-level arcane spells had begun to be perfected, making many simple arcane spells more complex, more powerful, and more beneficial to the world. Let's clean this village as well, getting rid of germs, mosquitoes, and rats. There was a village not far away, and the arcanists looked at it and joined forces to activate another arcane spell, the sterilization spell. This arcane spell was activated. All the flies, mosquitoes, rats, and even many harmful parasites and germs were sucked into an arcane sphere, completely destroyed, disintegrated, and turned into nothingness. Even some of the sick people in the village immediately recovered. This was because the germs in their bodies had also been extracted by the arcane sphere. Not bad, not bad. The power of the arcane spells is being displayed quite well, especially at the grassroots level. These arcanists are all doing public service, and their influence on the hearts of the people is immeasurable. Gu Chernsha nodded to himself. In the village, there was a family with a sick woman lying on the bed. A child was nervously guarding his mother by her side, tears constantly flowing down his face. But after a flash of the arcane spell, the woman's illness was instantly cured. "Mom, the arcanists have come to clean the entire village, and your illness has been cured. The arcanists are not high and mighty lords, but are saviors and protectors. When I grow up, I want to become an arcanist as well and serve the village," the child loudly vowed. It was this vow that seemed to open up a tiny crack in the depths of his heart. The power of his spirit began to sprout and was about to burst forth. Gu Chensha naturally felt that. He smiled. That was the effect he wanted. In the past few decades, through the subtle influence of the arcane guild that he controlled, some ideas and concepts had been deeply rooted in the hearts of all the people in the arcane kingdom. Whether it was a civilian or a slave, they all knew that they must awaken the power of their spirit and then serve the world. That was the right way, that was a great feeling, and that was the only way to reach the highest realm of cultivation, that had begun to connect with some of the ideas of the new world. It's almost time. Gu Chensha looked at the boiling network of the arcane kingdom. The network seemed to have expanded its influence to the entire giant universe. If such ideas continue to spread, the arcane network will be more and more connected to the new world. As long as that key point is passed, the power of the new world can flow into the arcane network, so that the arcane network and the new world will be integrated into one. At that time, Mr. Wu Wu, I'll see how you escape. In the face of my comprehensive layout, I don't think you'll be indifferent. Let me see, what means do you have to break my overt plot? The network of the arcane kingdom is getting stronger and stronger. Even when I've reached the realm of my peak, I'm no match for it at all. In another corner of the arcane kingdom, Long Xiangtian looked at the ubiquitous arcane network that permeated all the depths of time and space. His face was very gloomy. In the past few decades, he had painstakingly managed in the arcane kingdom, but it was still of no use. Under the overwhelming trend, his management was shrinking and becoming more and more useless. In the end, he had to give up his management and wait for Mr. Wu Wu's layout. Now, he finally knew that even if he didn't use his power, he wasn't Gu Chensha's match at all. Under Gu Chensha's all-pervasive manipulation of people's hearts, no matter which world he was in, he would be utterly defeated. Chapter 1056. Desperate counterattack. Long Xiangtian was at his wits' end. He came to consult Mr. Nun. At that moment, Mr. Nun was in the void. He wasn't in the arcane kingdom. He seemed to be hesitating and afraid of something. Mr. Nun, now the arcane network of the arcane kingdom is leaning towards Gu Chensha. We seem to be at a disadvantage. We haven't done anything for the past few decades. What should we do? Long Xiangtian was very uncomfortable. He felt that Mr. Nun was at his wits' end. I have to admit that Gu Chensha first roped in the elders of the arcane kingdom and helped them improve their strength. It was a good idea to start from the top. Then he enriched the arcane kingdom, formulated a series of policies, stabilized the hearts of the people, eliminated hidden dangers, and made everyone in the arcane world accept this idea. The development is getting better and better. It's really amazing. Mr. Nun took a deep look at Long Xiangtian. Why? Have you lost confidence? That's not it. I must kill Gu Chensha. I'll never be able to wash away the humiliation he gave me. Long Xiangtian gritted his teeth. But if Gu Chensha can control the top of the arcane senate, so can you. Why didn't you do it? Instead, you cultivated the noble Teddy family? The patriarch of the Teddy family, Teddy Shakun, was really useless. He rebelled with the nobles 10 years ago. As a result, his family was exterminated, and all the power we laid out disappeared. That's what you see on the surface. Mr. Nun said, the reason why I didn't control the arcane senate was because of a deeper reason. Those arcane elders themselves are the first heirs of the arcane network. They've awakened the power of their hearts, which means that they've mastered the Dragonless Heart Sutra. If I control them, it doesn't have anything to do with my overall situation. I want to change the system of the arcane network and make it part of the old world. Everyone depends on devouring, and the arcanists are treated as livestock. I want to turn the arcane kingdom into a system where the old world is superior and the new world is the slave. That's how I'll be the most powerful, and the arcane network will be mine. Do you know that? I see, that's your plan? Long Xiangtian completely understood. In Long Xiangtian's heart, a picture was drawn. In the arcane kingdom, the nobles were high and mighty. Every noble kept arcanists as slaves. They made the arcanists do all kinds of things, such as cleaning, sanitation, manufacturing, and production. Some nobles tied up the arcanists, skinned them, barbecued them, and ate them. All the enslaved arcanists were resigned to their fate. They thought that they were evil and sinful since they had awakened their soul power. They had to suffer and become slaves. What Mr. Everlasting wanted to create was this atmosphere and the structure of the world. He made a breakthrough in the arcane empire and subverted everyone's understanding. He let the entire multiverse and all the creatures in the human world know that once the power of the soul was awakened, it was the beginning of sin. They had to bear pain and torture. They were the most inferior existence and the abandoned child of the world. If this ideology and worldview were to be spread, it could completely topple Gu Chencha's rule over the new world, allowing Mr. No-No's power to be maximized. At the same time, Mr. Wu Wu's trap could also trap Gu Chencha. But now all of this was in vain. Now the consciousness of the entire universe is that once the power of the soul is awakened, it's the supreme glory. Everyone wants to awaken it. In this way, the consciousness of the multiverse is actually towards the new world, not towards us. Our power is weakening, to be precise, the power of the old world is weakening. If we don't resist, we'll be peeled off step by step and completely lose the ability to resist. At this time, Long Xiangtian also looked at the multiverse. The idea of the new world seemed to be spreading like a plague. During the spread, there were countless people changing their ideas every moment. However, in the multiverse of the human world, although the idea was subtle, it was far less clear than the idea of the arcane kingdom. In the arcane kingdom, the status of the arcanists was supreme, with glory and respect. Countless ordinary people wanted to awaken the power of the soul and become arcanists. In other universes there was no such solid rule and trend. Finally, Long Xiangtian understood why Gu Chencha had painstakingly built the arcane kingdom. It was to set a benchmark for the multiverse. As the arcane kingdom became more and more powerful, all the universes would reflect on why, so they would learn the idea and advancement of the arcane kingdom. Once there was a trend of learning the arcane kingdom in the multiverse, the power of the new world would be incomparably enhanced, and the imprint of the old world would gradually fade away. That made Mr. No-No extremely dangerous. There's room for redemption in this matter, and Gu Chencha is digging a hole to bury himself. Mr. No-No said, the counterattack of the old world isn't so easy to eliminate. The Teddy family that I supported was destroyed, but it was the brewing of a spark. My goal was never Teddy Shakuan, but his grandson, Teddy Linyu. The Teddy family was destroyed, but there were still many people who weren't killed. They were reduced to slaves. Teddy Linyu was one of them. He had hatred for the extermination of the arcane kingdom. His parents died in the hands of the elders of the arcane kingdom. That hatred made him want to overthrow the arcane kingdom, and under my arrangement, the imprint of the will of the old world was gathered on him. You know, the original formation of the arcane kingdom had the shadow of the old world in it. The arcanists themselves also contained the things of the old world. The entire arcane continent, the arcane network, is a combination of the new and the old. The imprint of the old world in the arcane network, after my brewing and arrangement, was all concentrated on Teddy Lin Yu. His achievements are very great. He can subvert the Arcane Kingdom and rule it. He's the future emperor of the Arcane Kingdom. You know, darkness and darkness are one. Now Gu Chunxia is getting stronger and stronger in the Arcane Kingdom, but in fact, he's also secretly increasing the power of the old world. I feel that in this arcane world, the original will of the Arcane Network, in fact, also favors Teddy Lin Yu, because the Arcane Network also knows that Gu Chunxia is slowly transforming him, trying to get closer to the new world, but the Arcane Network itself is independent. He needs to develop independently. He doesn't need others to tell him what to do. Even this kind of telling him what to do is good for him, Long Xiangtian understood. It seems that you're also likely to break through the realm. Mr. Nun glanced at Long Xiangtian. You're right, the Arcane Network is very independent. Sooner or later, it's going to break with Gu Chunxia. A universe, a world, they're all independent. I feel that now the Arcane Network has begun to break. Look at the slave Teddy Lin Yu. His strength is rising steadily. And his cultivation method is extremely unique. He not only devours the origin of the world, but also uses his own spiritual power to create an illusion, that is to say, his own cultivation is also a combination of the old world and the new world. As Mr. Nun spoke, he waved his hand, and suddenly an image appeared. In this scene, in the depths of a mine, there were many slaves mining. These slaves were all in tattered clothes, and they were constantly being whipped by the construction workers as they mined. Among them was a teenager, about 17 or 18 years old. He had a determined face. He followed the other slaves to get their meals after they finished their work. The meals were also very simple, they were just black and smelly steamed buns. Originally, the environment of the Arcane Kingdom was very good. Even in the prison, the conditions were not bad, but these were the lowest slaves. They had committed very serious crimes. The treatment, there was a punishment for them. The Arcane Kingdom, those high and mighty arcanists, you killed my parents, destroyed my family. I, Teddy Lin Yu, swear that in my lifetime, I will definitely destroy you. A surge of power surged in the teenager's body. There were two forces in the teenager's body. One came from his own spiritual power, the other came from the depths of the void of the outside universe, the power of the infinite dimensions. In the past, Heavenly Talisman Emperor Gu Taxian's great god slayer skill could endlessly absorb the infinite power of the various dimensions of the universe, but now, the teenager's cultivation method was more magical than the great god slayer skill. It could absorb almost anything, and the power he absorbed combined with his own spiritual power, it became a kind of almost omnipotent divine power. I'm Teddy Lin Yu. I will definitely destroy these arcanists. I will make all the arcanists my slaves. Teddy Lin Yu secretly vowed, and I know that behind these arcanists, there is a giant supporting them. That giant is the Lord of the New World, Gu Chunxia. I won't let you go, no matter how powerful you are. I will make you kneel in front of me. Teddy Lin Yu was slowly lurking, preparing a plan. At this time, a dark shadow was also secretly observing Teddy Lin Yu. This is the future son of the world? The dark shadow was Meheli, who had obtained the gourd of Fa Wuxian. At this time, Meheli was wearing an arcane robe that still had thousands of stars, but his actual power had exceeded hundreds of thousands of stars, even reaching more than 1,000,000. If it was the power of arcane magic, he was worthy of being the first in the entire Arcane Kingdom. None of the elders were his match. But he didn't show it. He was still hidden in the entire arcane magic system, as a tumor slowly developing. Teddy Lin Yu's destiny is to be the son of the world. If there's no accident, he will be the one to unify the entire Arcane Kingdom in the future. He's the entire world's arcane network, that is, the gathering of the destiny of the heavens. But this gathering is very secretive. If I hadn't obtained the gourd of Fa Wuxian, I wouldn't have noticed it at all. Maybe I can take advantage of this opportunity to completely destroy the brand of Fa Wuxian and successfully advance to the immortal realm. Mehuli was planning. Chapter 1057. Teddy Lin Yu. After decades of operation by Gu Chunxia, the Arcane Kingdom had become one of the most powerful universes in the multiverse. Although it wasn't as good as the New World, it had formed its own unique style. What was more, the rules of the universe were a combination of the New World and the Old World, and it had been recognized by the New World and the Old World at the same time. It could be seen that the Son of Destiny, the Son of the World, and the Son of Heaven were likely to comprehend the 9th level of immortality in the Arcane Kingdom. And if he could devour the Son of Destiny, it was very likely that he could comprehend the realm of immortality. So, Mehuli targeted Teddy Lin Yu. Teddy Lin Yu's current cultivation was actually extremely profound, but he was still willing to be a slave. In fact, he wanted to carry out a revolution. He wanted to lead the world's most humble and lowest slaves to rebel, so as to set off the rule of the Arcanists and change the world. What he wanted to do was still the same as before, to trample the Arcanists under his feet and treat them like pigs, dogs, cows, and sheep. However, in the beginning, his family chose the aristocratic class. In fact, in the entire Arcane Kingdom, the largest class and the largest number of people were slaves. Then there were the civilians. The poor included farmers, businessmen, students, workers, and so on. Then there were the aristocrats. Finally, there were the Arcanists. The number of people in the Arcane Kingdom was like a pyramid. The number of Arcanists was the smallest, and the population of slaves was the largest. Some of these slaves were aristocrats and civilians in the country who had committed crimes, were degraded and became slaves, but more of them were hostile humans from many other universes. The Arcane Kingdom had gradually ruled the giant universe over the years, and it was still expanding, invading other universes and capturing a vast number of creatures. Most of these hostile humans were strong. Although all their powers were abolished by arcane magic, and they became ordinary people, their experience and realms were still there. These experiences and realms, as long as they were given a source of power, they could restore their strength. Moreover, these people hated the Arcane Kingdom very much and longed for a chance to turn things around. It was easy to have a kind of cohesion and hatred as a guide. In fact, Teddy Lin Yu had also made some lessons for his family's failure in rebellion. The nobles lived like princes, and no one had any thoughts of rebelling. Instead, they were afraid of the wolves in front of them and the tigers behind them. There were even some who wanted to protect their own wealth and wealth. They were like a plate of loose sand, which led to the failure of the rebellion. On the other hand, slaves were different. They had nothing to begin with, and there was no hope in their lives. They suffered day and night and struggled on the line between life and death. Every single one of them had the courage to fight to the death. Moreover, the entire slave class had a large population. As long as he could give them power, they could immediately arm themselves and start an uprising. In fact, throughout the Arcane Kingdom, among the huge slave class, revolts had never been interrupted. Every moment there were slaves revolting. Unfortunately, the difference in power between them and the Arcana class was too great, so they had to die and fail. However, Lin Yu had grasped some power. He had even comprehended a supreme technique that allowed him to quickly create things from the void. It seemed that he had received some kind of support from the Arcane Network. So, as long as there was a chance, it was possible for him to quickly give power to countless slaves and arm them. Now he had to improve his own strength and wait for the opportunity. He felt that this huge Arcane Kingdom wouldn't be smooth sailing. There would definitely be a huge catastrophe. At that time, it would be the best starting point for his opportunity. My current strength is about the Heavenly Master Realm. Of course, I can call the wind and summon the rain in the Arcane Kingdom and become an overlord. But if the Arcane Council finds out, they can directly suppress me. Not to mention the supergiant behind the Arcane Council, Gu Chunsha, the Lord of the New World. If I'm not wrong, this supergiant is in the immortal realm. That's the realm I'm pursuing now. If I reach that realm, I can completely take revenge, rule the entire arcane kingdom, and shape the world according to my ideas. Teddy Lin, you gained a lot of knowledge from the arcane network. In the Heavenly Master realm, the arcana level had already reached thousands. An arcanist of this level was also a big shot in the Arcane Guild. The previous realms corresponded to the current arcana level. The realms below the Heavenly Master realm were hundreds of arcana levels. As long as one became a Heavenly Master, it would break through thousands. The previous realms were the 36 changes of Tao realm, then the Heavenly Master realm, then the Heavenly Master realm, then the Heavenly Master realm. Beyond the 36 changes of Tao realm, the Heavenly Master realm, it was extremely difficult in the previous cultivation system. Similarly, in the Arcane Kingdom, for a large number of arcanists, it was the same to break through thousands of arcana levels. Of course, now Teddy Lin Yu's strength had reached the Heavenly Master realm. But for the huge Arcane Kingdom, it wasn't worth mentioning. But now he felt that his strength was growing all the time, all kinds of bottlenecks simply didn't exist for him. He believed that he would soon be able to cultivate to the Heavenly Master realm. However, even if he cultivated to the Heavenly Master realm, in fact, it would be in vain. In the Senate, there were many masters in the Heavenly Master realm. So, he had to cultivate to the immortal realm. Once upon a time, there was an invincible Lord Devourer called Fa Wuxian. He devoured countless universes and finally cultivated to the immortal realm. But under the siege of countless universes, he finally fell and became a precious gourd. It became a precious gourd, and according to the legend, the precious gourd fell into our arcane kingdom. Whoever can find the precious gourd will be able to reach the immortal realm. It seems that my only chance is to find the gourd of the immortal realm. Teddy Lin Yu thought. At this time, the slaves had finished their day's work and entered the prison to live. The prison was cold and damp, it was very uncomfortable, but this was the island of the slaves. Teddy Lin Yu had cultivated to the current realm. He actually didn't care. The floor was full of slaves, all of them were snoring, they were tired all day, the slaves had no entertainment at all, they just slept. At this time, suddenly the whole prison became incomparably quiet, the space was completely stripped away. Teddy Lin Yu stood up. He knew that something bad had happened, there was a master who had stripped away the space here, it was the arcane division of the world. Who is it? Teddy Lin Yu asked. It's me. Mehali appeared in front of Teddy Lin Yu. His gloomy face and distorted eyes looked very much like Fa Wuxian. Arcanist, the existence of the way of heaven. Teddy Lin Yu was surprised. Don't worry, I won't kill you. Although Mehali wanted to devour Teddy Lin Yu now, he knew that it wasn't the right time. Although Teddy Lin Yu was now the son of heaven, he wasn't mature yet. If he rashly devoured him, he wouldn't gain much, the way of heaven would give birth to another one. Only by waiting for the son of the heavenly Tao to fully mature, when the heavenly Tao had invested so much in him that it couldn't be abandoned, would Mehali be able to completely suppress the mark of Fa Wuxian in his body, allowing himself to reach the most powerful realm. Who are you? There's no one like you in the Senate, Teddy Lin Yu said. You don't need to know who I am, Mehali said. You just need to know that I'm here to help you. I can help you quickly advance to the way of heaven and launch a war of revenge. I don't like the Arcane Council, the Senate, or even the New World Lord Gu Chunsha behind the scenes of the Arcane Kingdom. In fact, although the Arcane Kingdom is powerful, it's actually someone else's little brother. It's the vassal of the New World. The instinct of our Arcane Kingdom is suppressed by Gu Chunsha, and we're gradually transforming and refining it. The origin of our arcane world is independent, we can't tolerate such behavior, So we have to unite and fight for the origin of the world. You actually have the same idea? Teddy Lin Yu was puzzled. In fact, every time he cultivated, he had the same idea in his heart. It was actually a hint of the entire arcane network. Yes, I have the same idea. This is the call of the arcane network to us. It wants us to resist and protect the origin of the world, the independence and freedom of the world. In fact, Mehuli didn't have that idea at all, but with his realm, he had already seen the essence of some things. He could completely guess the feeling of Teddy Lin Yu, the Son of Heaven. With that sentence, he could immediately resonate with Teddy Lin Yu. The way of heaven chose me, and it also chose you. We're all chosen by the origin of the world, so we have to join forces. Mehuli said again, now I'll help you cross multiple realms and directly reach the way of heaven. As he spoke, Mehuli suddenly rotated, and suddenly in his body, a gourd-like power poured into Teddy Lin Yu's body. Immediately, Teddy Lin Yu's realm rose steadily, and it actually reached the way of heaven before it stopped. Your strength has actually reached such a realm. Teddy Lin Yu felt that something was wrong, but he couldn't figure out what was wrong. With your strength, you can actually elevate people to the realm of heaven path at will. Even the first arcane elder of the arcane kingdom, Joseph, is far from being your opponent. Chapter 1058. Together good. Mr. Wu looked at everything, even Mehuli's body. When he saw Teddy Lin Yu and Mehuli working together, he couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. The plan worked. Mr. Wu, Mr. Wuxin, Mr. Wei, and Mr. Wuxiang had all gathered. Gentlemen, what's the plan? How did it work? Long Xiangtian was still confused. It's actually very simple. Mr. Wu explained to Long Xiangtian. Now, after Mehuli and Teddy Lin Yu come into contact, they'll obtain each other's secrets and find a way to devour each other. Once they devour each other, they'll obtain the true invincible realm. But all of this is still under the control of the arcane world's origin. The arcane world's origin will eventually harvest both of them and turn them into true invincible world beings. Moreover, the arcane world's origin has the intention of rebelling against Gu Chunsha. With my guidance, it'll be able to deal the most fatal blow to Gu Chunsha. Gu Chunsha is constantly strengthening the arcane network and the arcane kingdom. He's trying to make this network into a big net, trap me in it, and finally kill me. Unfortunately, he's cultivated an ungrateful person. The arcane network has become his enemy, especially now that Mehuli and Teddy Lin Yu hate Gu Chunsha to the core. Even if they don't integrate into the arcane network, they can join forces with the arcane network to suppress Gu Chunsha. In this way, Gu Chunsha is digging his own grave by killing me in order to create the arcane network. If I don't do anything now, I can make him fall into trouble and eventually die. Isn't that great? But, Long Xiangtian said, Gu Chunsha has always been in control of the overall situation. For so many years, he's never suffered a loss. Countless people have been defeated by him. He's almost invincible. There's no way he can't see such an obvious movement. Although I don't know what he's doing, digging his own grave is often his own trap. I've also considered this matter. Mr. Invincible was listening to Long Xiangtian's suggestion. Actually, it's very possible that Gu Chunsha is playing along, but I still can't figure out how he's going to do that. That's the scary part. Of course, even if the Arcana network reaches the Undying Realm and becomes my trap to trap Gu Chunsha, I won't be able to seal or kill him. He's too strong. Here's the situation. If Gu Chunsha doesn't care about the price, he can kill us. But even if we don't care about the price, we can't kill him. If Gu Chunsha was willing to give up this multidimensional universe and the new world, he could kill us. However, he can't. This is my chance of survival. Then how can we kill Gu Chunsha? Hearing this, Long Xiangtian was in despair. He didn't know how he could kill Gu Chunxia. Mr. Invincible was the most terrifying thing in the multidimensional universe. If he didn't have a way to kill Gu Chunxia, then who could kill Gu Chunxia? Gu Chunxia can kill Gu Chunxia himself, Mr. Invincible said. The current Gu Chunxia is invincible, but that doesn't mean that Gu Chunxia will be invincible in the future. The world is developing. Look, a few decades ago, there weren't many Heavenly Dao Realm experts. But after Fa Wuxian was destroyed, Heavenly Dao Realm experts appeared like bamboo shoots after the rain. As for how many there are now, I don't think you can calculate it. As time passes, there will be more Undying Realm experts. Right now, only Gu Chunxia, the four of us, and the gourd that Fa Wuxian transformed into make 6. But I feel that in the near future, there will be 60 or even 600 Undying Realm experts. Think about it, we 5 Undying Realm experts can't do anything to him, but what about 50? What about 500? If we all go against him, won't he be in a terrible situation? Maybe he'll even be sealed by us together? Plus, although he has created the 10th level of the Undying Realm, if one day, someone surpasses him and reaches the Undying Realm before him, what will happen to him? Do you really think he's invincible? No matter how strong an existence is, invincible only belongs to a certain era. Right now, it's Gu Chencha's era. I admit that he's ruling this era, but the next era won't be his era. We can only protect our own lives and wait for the arrival of the next era. Or we can scheme and become the main characters of the next era. Long Xiangtian seemed to understand something. Right, I have another question. You are the products of the old world's Heavenly Dao and Gu Taxian's fusion. Logically speaking, the 4 of you were born first, and that terrifying thing still exists. How many misters will be born? Almost. Mr. Wuxiang said. Our Mr. Wuwu, Mr. Wuxin, Mr. Wuwei, and Mr. Wuxiang are indeed the first batch to be born. In the future, more misters will be born. Of course, the ones who will be born in the future might not be misters, but rather streams of qi that will be obtained by some fated people. After those fated people obtain them, they will have the potential to become immortal, just like the choices of protagonists. In the end, they will fight each other and become the protagonists of the next era. I see. Does Gu Chunxia know about this? Long Xiangtian asked again. He's clear about it, but he didn't stop it. In his heart, there's actually a sense of confidence. That is, he's the main character of this era, he'll still be the main character in the next era, and even in the era after that, in the eternal era, he'll still be the main character. Confidence is a good thing, but overconfidence is a bad thing. Mr. Wuxiang said. Then we'll wait for the arrival of the new era. Long Xiangtian said. But operating in the Arcane Kingdom, since we can't kill Gu Chunxia and we can't seal Gu Chunxia, what's the point of our operation? Although we can't kill Gu Chunxia and we can't seal Gu Chunxia, we can inflict serious damage on him so that he can't kill us anymore. In this way, we can remove the threat and win precious time. In addition, it's a major blow to Gu Chencha's destiny. It can weaken his destiny and let all the creatures under his oppression breathe a sigh of relief. In this way, that's the best era. And if he loses this time, we can get his immortal structure. In that way, we also have a chance to surpass Gu Chunxia. This war layout is the beginning of Gu Chencha's downhill road. Once he goes downhill, it'll be difficult for him to come back. Mr. Wuxiang was very accurate. It's easy to turn a small ship, but if the ship is too big, it's not easy to turn back. Indeed, not to mention a behemoth like Gu Chunxia, even a huge empire, if it starts to go downhill, there's basically no possibility of it rising again. After all these years, Long Xiangtian was no longer the insufferably arrogant person who had obtained the variant origin source. Long Xiangtian, do you know why we look at you with new eyes? Mr. Wuxiang said, Because you're also the recipient of the source of variation. In fact, you're our brother. But although your source of variation has been extracted, in fact, the birth of your soul itself is because of the source of variation. Long Xiangtian was indeed the recipient of the source of variation. Back then, the source of variation hadn't evolved, and hadn't reached the undying realm. But at that time, once one obtained the source of variation, one would truly become a powerhouse. Long Xiangtian was like that, Gu Tiansha was like that, and so was Gu Daoxian. Even some of the current variant ancestor Lu Chansha and Taoist ancestor Hongling Sha had the source of variation in their bodies. Gu Daoxian's source of variation was originally 100 times stronger than Long Xiangtian's, but it was later injected into ancestor Zhang Yiren's body. Therefore, those who obtained the source of variation actually had the potential to reach the undying realm. If one were to ask who would have the chance to reach the undying realm in the future, it would undoubtedly be these people who obtained the source of variation. That means I also have the chance to reach the undying realm? Long Xiangtian was excited. Of course. Actually, right now, Gu Chunsha is too strong. He's making it extremely difficult for many people to advance. As long as his fate continues to decline, you'll all rise up immediately. Long Xiangtian, I asked you to contact everyone. How are you contacting those who obtained the source of variation? For example, Lu Chansha and Hongling Sha. Mr. Wu Wu said, tell them that as long as they suppress Gu Chencha's fate, they can use the source of variation to advance again and reach the undying realm. Let them come to me and manage the arcane kingdom. Once they successfully suppress Gu Chencha's fate, the benefits will be unimaginable. A new era is coming. I'll do that right away. Also, I'm afraid that Gu Huasha will also be a big obstacle. After all, he and Gu Chunsha are brothers. Long Xiangtian said. He was trying to sow discord. Gu Huasha is the best trump card against Gu Chunsha, but you still don't understand the key point. Mr. Wu Wu waved his hand. The most important thing right now is not to fight among yourselves. As long as you successfully suppress Gu Chencha's fate and injure him, you'll be able to take it easy in the future. I understand. Long Xiangtian disappeared. After Long Xiangtian disappeared, a person appeared in front of Mr. Wu Wu and the others. It was Gu Huasha, the fourth, the Nihility ancestor. He looked at Long Xiangtian's disappearing figure and sneered. This Long Xiangtian is still useless. With such means, he wants to reach the undying realm? What a joke! Chapter 1059. The wind and clouds surged. At this time, the fourth Gu Huasha was surrounded by a brilliant light. From the outside, he looked like a man of light. His face couldn't be seen at all. But his aura was countless times stronger than before. It seemed that he was about to break through at any time and step into a new realm, that was the undying realm. However, until now, the fourth Gu Huasha was still in the heavenly path realm. Of course, the heavenly path realm was also divided into different levels. For example, in the current multiverse of the human world, the bigger the universe, the stronger the heavenly path master born in it. The smaller the universe, the weaker the heavenly path master born. For example, now, the giant universe created by the Big Bang of Fa Wuxian was about to be unified by the arcane kingdom. The heavenly path master born in this empire would be very strong. Of course, the strongest were the heavenly path masters born in the new world. These heavenly path masters were all invincible, almost invincible. They weren't at the same level as the other heavenly path masters. But now, the fourth Gu Huasha seemed to be on an equal footing with the heavenly path masters born in the new world, and even surpassed them. No one knew how he cultivated. In short, now he had the potential to advance to the undying realm. Even Mr. Wu Wu couldn't underestimate the fourth Gu Huasha in front of him. That's strange. Although he swallowed the elixir that the Emperor of Heaven had transformed into, he would advance to the heavenly path realm, but he wouldn't be so fierce. Why is that? Mr. Wu Wu didn't understand. In his calculations, the fourth Gu Huasha couldn't have achieved what he had now. I think our opportunity has come. This giant universe, the Arcane Kingdom, has great potential, and it's still in its infancy. After the Arcane Kingdom expands, even without Fa Wuxian's gourd, it has the opportunity to advance to the Undying Realm. I can say with certainty that if anyone wants to advance to the Undying Realm, they can only find the opportunity in the Arcane Kingdom, the fourth Gu Huasha said, but I still hope that Mr. Wu Wu can give me this opportunity. Of course, you and your brother Gu Chunxia are like fire and water. Furthermore, we also have a connection. In fact, our birth is the birth of the union between Gu Chunxia and the old world's heavenly Tao. Mr. Wu Wu said, so, you're one of us. Why don't you enter the arcane world, and make all kinds of arrangements? I know, but I'm here today to tell you, I hope that you can give me the opportunity to advance to the Undying Realm. Also, I don't want the gourd that Fa Wuxian transformed into. The fourth Gu Huasha said, now, everyone thinks that the only chance to advance to the Undying Realm is to get the gourd of Fa Wuxian. But I think there's another chance, and that's the origin of the Arcane Kingdom. Whoever controls the origin and obtains the strongest foundation from it can advance to the Undying Realm. I believe that all of you know that. I can make a deal with you. Once I advance to the Undying Realm, I'll help you kill Gu Chunxia. What do you think? We'll allow it. Mr. Wu Wu, Mr. Wu Xian, Mr. Wu Wei, and Mr. Wu Xiang looked at each other and said, that's a deal. Without your consent, I can't get this opportunity. If we make a deal now, that opportunity is mine. The fourth Gu Huasha nodded, and with a slight movement, he disappeared without a trace. This person has changed. He doesn't seem to be in our control. Mr. Wu Wu looked at the back of the fourth Gu Huasha as he left. Ever since he swallowed the elixir that the Emperor of Heaven transformed into, everything seems to be beyond our expectations. Why is that? Now that the way of heaven has changed, no one can say for sure, Mr. Wu Xian said, but should we give him the opportunity or not? Give it to him. I can see that deep down, he has already fallen out with Gu Chunxia, and only he can harm Gu Chunxia. However, even if he ascends to the peerless immortal realm, I'm afraid he isn't unkillable. If his sacrifice this time can seriously harm Gu Chunxia, I'm afraid it's a good thing, Mr. Wu Xiang said. Indeed, if Gu Huasha can ascend to the peerless immortal realm and sacrifice himself to perish together with Gu Chunxia, he will definitely be able to deal a heavy blow to Gu Chunxia. However, I'm afraid he won't be so obedient, Mr. Wu Xiang said. Whether he's obedient or not isn't up to him. We promised him the peerless immortal realm spot, but it's not that easy to get. Mr. Wu Xiang said. He also promised to fight to the death with Gu Chunxia. At our level, anything we say is a foregone conclusion. If we don't carry it out, we'll be caught red-handed. In that case, let's let Gu Huasha know the truth of doing what he says, Mr. Wu Xian said with a smile. In another village of the Arcane Kingdom, Gu Chunxia was walking around, observing, and looking at the style of the lowest society of the Arcane Kingdom. All of a sudden, he seemed to feel everything. Looking into the depths of the void, he nodded. The fourth, you've gone astray, but I blame you, and I'm still helping you. The Emperor Heaven elixir that you took was made by me. It's not the real Emperor Heaven elixir. It's the power of the new world, that's why your current realm has reached this level, but you can't understand all of this for the time being. When you do, you'll really understand. As he spoke, he withdrew his gaze. In the distance, there were several arcanists fighting. Far away from the village was a mountain range. In the depths of the mountain range, there were many huge space-time tunnels. In the depths of the space-time tunnels, there were often monsters from other dimensions and other universes. These things would pose a great threat to the village and even nearby towns and cities, so there were arcanists stationed there to defend. Buzz, in the depths of the mountain, the huge space-time tunnel wriggled again. A murderous aura rolled out. The first thing that appeared was a black cloud. In the black cloud, there were many flying insects that were as long as a person. These flying insects had 6 wings, 8 claws, and hooks on their tails that could spray venom. It's the Zerg. Gu Chensha knew at a glance which universe it was from. He created the human world and the multiverse. In those universes, countless races were born, such as Heavenly Venerables, Heavenly Longevity, Heavenly Origin, Heavenly Realm, and Heavenly Tao experts emerged one after another. There were also many strange civilizations brewing. These ancient sands let nature take its course and didn't deliberately change anything. The Zerg were an extremely terrifying race in the multiverse. They were born in an extremely mysterious universe called the Mother Nest Universe. In the depths of the Mother Nest Universe, the race that was born had the innate ability to build huge warships that could travel through multiple dimensions. Their warships were made of flesh and blood, belonging to a genetic civilization. It was also a variant of the technological civilization. Of course, it was similar to the Immortal Path and Martial Path civilizations. The technological civilization created many machines that could eventually defy the heavens, while the Immortal Path and Martial Path civilizations cultivated themselves to defy the heavens and become immortal, doing whatever they wanted. However, the Zerg were the genetic technology of the technological civilization, coupled with the various body-building technologies of the Immortal Path and Martial Path civilizations. When the two were combined, they formed the strongest genes of the Zerg. All the Zerg had extremely powerful bodies, and some Zerg were even more powerful than the warships of the technological civilization. They had countless abilities. For example, the insectoids that were traversing the void right now actually had a huge battleship behind them. The main body of the battleship was also a giant insectoid. This giant insectoid was called the internuclear insectoid. The power of the internuclear insect could tear the void and carry countless Zerg to invade one plane after another. Deep in the genes of a race, there was the factor of invasion. The purpose of their birth was to plunder. They would invade one universe after another and plunder everything into their primitive universe, the Mother Nest Universe. Now, the Arcane Kingdom had occupied many places in this giant universe. If nothing went wrong, after many years, decades, maybe even 100 years, they could completely occupy this giant universe. Such an aura had attracted the invasion of the Zerg. It was as if the smell of blood had attracted the Zerg. Just like when the Devil Clan invaded the Divine's central continent. Gu Chensha didn't care about these things, because he knew that the invasion of the Zerg had trained the abilities of all the Arcanists of the Arcane Kingdom. The Zerg was like the Devil Clan in the past. It gave the people of the Arcane Kingdom the possibility to practice their skills. Thunder Spear. In the face of the invasion of many Zerg, the Arcanists there didn't seem to panic. One by one, the Arcanists formed an army and suddenly broke out into a military formation to attack. First, tens of thousands of Arcanists simultaneously cast the arcane spell Thunder Spear. In their hands, a spear made of thunder and lightning appeared, and then they threw it out violently. Then, tens of thousands of Arcanists simultaneously cast another arcane spell, Acceleration. The acceleration was added to the Thunder Spear, and made the spear even faster. Combination. At this time, tens of thousands of Arcanists cast another arcane spell, Combination, and all the Thunder Spears were combined together. Flash. Another 10,000 Arcanists formed another camp, and at the same time, they cast the same arcane spell on the Thunder Spear. Amplification. Concussion. Blast. Binding. Soul Extraction. countless arcanists formed an army formation, and in accordance with the most exquisite rules of combat, they cast the arcane spells on the Thunder Spear. In the blink of an eye, the power of the Thunder Spear reached its maximum. Boom! You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.